Wow. The skeletons all around included the soldier, the undead who had brought up the rear when Amanda entered the city. They instantly pounced on the enemy in the middle. Screams and wails filled the city gate area. How is it? Is there anything unusual? Fang Hao asked softly, looking at Amanda who was walking over. Amanda was dressed in ordinary clothes, and her mask was a black iron mask. The queen's former radiance was gone. That's the situation as you see it. We haven't found any reinforcements. I heard that the dragons were teleported here with the help of the elven race, Amanda said directly. Damn, it's those elves again. Why are they always involved? Okay, I'll take you back first, Fang Hao said. Although Amanda is dark gold, her combat prowess in this battle is still limited. Fang Hao wasn't entirely confident of victory either, so it was better to be cautious. Even if the dragons win, Amanda can say she died in the siege and was resurrected from Hero Altar. If we join the war, and then our side suffers another defeat, at that time, Upper St. Golden City will also suffer the dragon's revenge. His craftsmen are all over there. It's better to be cautious. Okay, be careful and prioritize your own safety, Amanda reminded him. Amanda's loyalty level has also reached 100 points. I would never want Fang Hao to be in danger. Yeah, don't worry, I'm good at escaping. Fang Hao directly released a light screen, sending Amanda away from there. This delay allowed the dragon herd, led by Jin Long, to enter the originally designated area. It's even quite close to City Wall. Fang Hao immediately gave the order, beat the drums. Thump, thump, thump. The undead war drums sounded, and a gray-white halo enveloped all the undead soldier. The moment the war drums sounded, the ground outside the city churned up like waves. One by one, the stone slabs were lifted up, revealing trenches more than a meter deep beneath. Whoosh! Countless skeleton archers appeared in the trenches. He pointed the rifle in his hand towards the sky and pulled the trigger. Clap, clap, clap. The intense gunfire echoed throughout the battlefield. The bullets were more concentrated than raindrops, shooting at the flying dragon units. The objective is clear. Bullets may not be able to harm the dragon heroes, so the main target is the dragon units. The dragon hadn't expected the enemy to have so many different types of units, as well as this special weapon. Crackle. Bullets kept hitting the dragon's scales, bouncing around randomly, but also creating many obstacles. Even if a dragon's scales could stop such a bullet, but with such density, even ordinary dragons began to struggle to cope. The scales fell off, and the bullet entered the body. The dragons let out painful howls, and some of them lost their balance and fell from the sky. It landed on the ground with a thud. Immediately afterwards, skeleton warriors crawled out of the trenches and pounced on the dragon that had landed. After a series of tearing and hacking attacks, they piled it up and killed it. After killing the target, re-enter the trench. This tactic would have been impossible for the skeleton soldiers in the past, unless someone was directing them from the sidelines. But now it has a basic soul, plus prior rehearsals. These actions can be performed very well. The golden dragon glanced behind it with its huge eyes, but did not speak. The blue dragon nodded knowingly. Leading a troop of giant dragons, they swooped down into the deep trenches below. Roar! Hoo-hoo! Dragon breath was expelled and swept towards the ground below. Meanwhile, the skeleton archers, who were hiding in the trenches, seemed to have been trained beforehand and crouched down to hide in the gaps they had dug in the trenches. After dragon breath swept past, it poked its head out again and fired wildly into the sky. Dozens of giant dragons swept across the land with terrifying power, wielding the dragon breath. The earth was scorched, but the dead suffered no loss. The dragons were stunned. What kind of crazy move is this? Digging a hole and breaking the dragon's attack. Upon seeing this scene on City Wall, Fang Hao was instantly overjoyed. My own ideas did prove to be somewhat useful. The changes below did not stop the golden dragon from moving forward. She, with her horde of dragons, has already approached City Wall. Seal the smoke, Fang Hao said. A row of skeleton archers, drawing their bows quickly. Whoosh whoosh. Arrows, each with a cylindrical tip, were fired in the direction from which the dragon was attacking. These beacon arrows were purchased from Lizardman. Because the tip is too heavy, it has a significant impact on the range. Bang, bang, bang. The arrows, shrouded in smoke, exploded suddenly upon reaching the sky. A thick, dark red mist enveloped the dragons, blocking their path. Whoosh! The dragons were incredibly fast, and the air currents they created instantly dispersed the smoke, making it thinner. However, the irritating smoke inside still had some effect. Some of the dragons began to sneeze, and their eyes watered. Weapon attack. Fang Hao continued to give the order. On the city wall, on the rooftops, all the dragon-locking ballistas and anti-aircraft crossbows began firing bolts. Among them were specially procured cold lizard arrows. It has an armor-piercing effect and can break through scales. In an instant, countless dragons, their bodies riddled with crossbow bolts as thick as an arm, fell from the sky. Roar! At the same time, the dragon began to fight back. It swooped down and began spewing out streams of dragon breath, cleaning up the equipment on city wall and the rooftops of various buildings. Large numbers of soldiers turned to ashes, and the equipment, under the dragon breath, turned into pools of molten iron. The dragon's high mobility and powerful physique have demonstrated their formidable combat strength. Like a tornado, it swirled in the air, sweeping away the spirits below. Nisbet, hidden among the skeletons, also continuously releases its stripping properties. Although the effect is short-lived, it lasts for the instant the dragon loses its balance. They would be hit by countless attacks, fall to the ground, and be overwhelmed by the undead. When the dragons arrived in the sky, the forces of both sides engaged in a fierce battle. At the moment when it seemed the dragons were engaged in battle, a large number of giant dragons fell from the sky, but they also managed to break through the defenses. Those, however, were preconfigured. Hidden atop the building were the defensive structures. It was also reduced to ruins by the vast dragon magic, including the raging flames and rain of fire. Even though Fang Hao deployed more equipment, arrows and crossbows regardless of cost, it did not reach the situation when the sea creatures guarded Yuxiang Island. The dark gold hero and orange hero of the dragon clan had most of their defenses crumble instantly under a single attack. The dragon began to shrink its circling range and continued its attack on the undead mage and the undead archers on the ground. The dead below fell and disappeared one by one, like wheat being harvested. Throughout the city, flames fell from the sky and thick smoke rose everywhere. Seeing such a devastating and disproportionate loss, Fang Hao cursed. Damn it, this was happening much faster than he had anticipated. If we let the dragons continue their rampage, we're afraid that in the end, things won't go according to plan. The demon puppets, scattered across several Hidden Arms caves, simultaneously issued the order. Skeleton giant bat, skeleton vulture, all move out and kill any enemy you see. Crash! Hidden Arms caves were spewing out densely packed flight skeletons like billowing smoke. Hundreds of thousands of flight units. It blotted out the sun and was incredibly imposing. The dragons were getting better and better at fighting, and had already started flying at low altitude. The sudden appearance of the skeleton giant bat and skeleton vulture was like a tightening net, pressing down from all sides. They frantically pounced on every target they could see. Bite grabs, tears, and gnaws. In a single encounter, a large number of dragons were completely enveloped by flocks of skeleton giant bats and vultures. Flesh and scales fell off with a clatter. When they all dispersed, they turned into streaks of white bones that fell from the sky. Even the dragons were startled by this sight. How could a small transmigrator city possibly have so many troops? The sheer number of skeleton soldiers below is one thing, but why are there so many flight units as well? This is a bit too strange. Even Dragon Empress was wondering if Fang Hao had desert support behind him. Otherwise, how could they possibly have so many troops? Moreover, the losses suffered by the dragon race have exceeded the Dragon Empress's capacity to bear them. Too many dragons have died, but this wasn't the end. When the skeleton giant bat and the vultures had mostly come out, they weren't all crowding at the entrance. Then a giant dragon with shriveled muscles, leading thousands upon thousands of bone dragons, flew into the battlefield from who knows where. Hoo-hoo. Now, the dragons were completely at a disadvantage, and the bone dragon spat out beams of black light. Once again, they clashed head-on with the dragons in the air. Black and red breath. A rain of fire filled the sky, and swirling whirlwinds of flame appeared in every corner of the city. The house collapsed, and rubble flew everywhere. They were killing each other. Dragon Empress, the enemy is acting strangely, and we have suffered heavy casualties. A dragon elder flew over and said. The golden dragon's cold, vertical pupils swept across its surroundings. Their gazes instantly fell upon the dragon leading the bone dragon, whose muscles were shriveled, clearly indicating that it had become an undead. His figure transformed into a streak of light, instantly appearing above the dried-up dragon. A dragon's mouth opens. A golden beam of energy shot out from its mouth. The beam of light, like a laser ray, pierced Spencer's back, tearing open a huge hole, and his internal organs and viscous blood fell to the ground. Before Spencer could resist, its two golden dragon claws dug into the withered muscles and pulled back forcefully. Tear, its body instantly split in two, was caught in the claws, circled once, and then flung to the ground. He died. The orange, Tier 5 Spencer was instantly killed. Everyone was somewhat incredulous. Roar. At this moment, the golden dragon circled once more in the air. He looked up to the sky and roared. All the dragons quickly evacuated. At the same time, the golden dragon soared into the sky again, and when it reached a certain height, a golden sun suddenly condensed above its head. The sun and the sky tomorrow formed two different suns. The next second, woohoo! The golden sun shone with blinding light, sweeping down upon the city below. Even though Fang Hao was using the undead's vision, he was instantly blinded. When the bright light disappears and things can be seen clearly again, the lower quarter of the city was reduced to ashes, and the buildings disappeared. The ground was cracked, with only a lava-like liquid flowing, converging into streams that flowed everywhere. Whether it's air or ground troops, or even the heroes planted within them, they all disappeared. The entire area was empty. Nothing was left behind. Holy crap, Fang Hao swallowed hard. This is ridiculous. One skill wiped out half the city. The last time I encountered the demigod Lord of Thunder, he also possessed lightning skills with an extremely large range. Yet it achieved such a terrifying effect that even the buildings turned into mud. The golden sun ended, and the golden dragon returned to the battlefield. Countless golden needles rained down, striking any undead that were touched. They were instantly wiped out. In addition, there are two dragon elders who are continuing their rampage. One is a blue dragon, and the other is a red dragon. The red dragon continued to spew out streams of flame, while the blue dragon's blue light seemed more like a petrification-type skill. The skeleton giant bat and the vulture that were attacked instantly turned into glass. It fell from the sky and shattered into pieces. I'm going to kill her. Lorana raised the Fang of Hatred greatsword, ready to charge out. Don't be impulsive. Fang Hao pulled her back again. This dragon leader is far too powerful. He instantly killed Spencer in his dragon form, and with a single golden sun, he also wiped out several of the heroes he had positioned there. Killing orange heroes is as easy as killing dogs, and most of the enemies in the territory are orange heroes, so there's no way to fight them. Even if Lorana can hold off the golden dragon, so what? Who can hold off the blue dragon and the red dragon? No one can defeat either of them. Finally, Fang Hao experienced the terror of the dragon race. No wonder every faction within the alliance looks fearful when they mention the dragon race. This isn't cowardice or weakness. It's a genuine feeling of being powerless. Then what do we do? Stop fighting, Lorana asked. Dimitrika and several other heroes also looked at him. Whether to fight or flee, it depends on Fang Hao's decision. If we really have to fight, the only outcome is death, followed by resurrection and hero altar. If we're not going to fight, we should start thinking about how to retreat now. Fang Hao turned his gaze back outside. Now, almost half of the city is gone, although skeleton soldiers are still pouring in and entering the battlefield. But to the dragon heroes, these troops are more like minor monsters in a game. They fell one after another, without showing much effect. The only positive outcome was that the dragon units were mostly eliminated. Hundreds of dragons were defeated, leaving only a few scattered individuals who were still struggling to circle in the air. Damn, as long as we're alive, we can always make a comeback. Let's. Just as I was about to order the attack to stop, a system notification sounded at this time. The magnificent Holy Spirit City is now complete. Building effects activated. All building durability plus 100%. Food production plus 150%. Production and mining plus 100%. Recruitment and conversion speed of all units plus 50%. Public order plus 50%. Reproduction plus 30%. Public faith plus 30%. Is Holy Spirit City finished? Before Fang Hao could check, a series of system notifications appeared again. Power of faith increased. Divinity level raised to 1. Blazing Martial God. Alanridge's loyalty to you has increased by 10 points. Current loyalty is 98. Blazing Martial God. Amarag versus. Fang Hao suddenly turned around and looked at the four sisters sitting side by side with their backs straight. Blazing Martial God. Alanrage. Dark Gold Tier 3 Hero. Blazing Martial God. Amarag. Dark Gold Tier 3 Hero. Blazing Martial God. Alulich. Dark Gold Tier 3 Hero. Blazing Martial God, Asulage, Dark Gold Tier 3 Hero. Fang Hao looked at the 4 black armor sisters in surprise. Information shows that all 4 of them have become Dark Gold Tier 3 heroes. Upon further reflection, the reason became clear instantly. Among the 4 sisters' skills is Divine Faith. The skill's effect will increase based on the level of the deity worshipped. There's no need to follow the normal hero progression method. In other words, Fang Hao is now at the level of a god, while the 4 of them have become Dark Gold. Once they reach level 2 or 3, they are very likely to be directly promoted to demigods. This method is somewhat terrifying. Now that the territory has 5 Dark Gold heroes, are they qualified to fight against the dragons? As he pondered this, the system notification sounded in his ear again. Congratulations, Lord. You have become the first Lord to be elevated to godhood. Rewards. Faction influence plus 1,000. Faith of the people plus 15%. 1 single page map. 1 blessing scroll. Shadowstone plus 500. Warfire coin plus 2,000. Your advancement has attracted the attention of the gods. The blessing of God of Slaughter will not take effect. The blessing of God of Deception will not take effect. Craftsmanship and the blessings of God of Hearth will not be effective. God of the Undead is angry because of your actions. You have lost your current faction and are currently unaffiliated. Holy crap, I fucking swear. Of the 5 statuses within the territory, 4 have become invalid, and God of the Undead has even expelled him from the register. They no longer acknowledge his affiliation with any faction. Outside the houses, the roars of dragons, the sounds of explosions, and the crackling of crossbows echoed throughout the city, a scene of intense fighting. Inside the room, Fang Hao's heart was ice cold. I originally thought the system would offer some help when I was in danger, but to my surprise, there was no help. They simply removed all the blessings bestowed upon him. These statues may seem useless, but they play a significant role. For example, the killing statue provides 10% attack and 10% skill recovery. The undead status provides a plus 10% bonus to all attributes of undead units. These attributes are attached to each unit type, representing hundreds of thousands or even millions of troops. However, it provides a significant attribute bonus. Now that we've removed it, his attributes are dropping rapidly. Their combat effectiveness also declined. Even after the upgrade, the actual strength decreased. Damn it, he cursed, but there was nothing he could do. Focus on the 2 items that the system rewards. One is a map, which can be included using Lord's Book. Fang Hao didn't have time to look at it, so he just included it directly. The other one is a scroll. I glanced at the description. It's called the Blessing Scroll. After use, the territory will enjoy a 3-year period of favorable weather, suitable for territory development. The items are good, but they don't offer much help in the current situation. Roll up the scroll, Fang Hao said. Alan Rach, you 4 come here for a moment. The 4 sisters stood up and walked over in unison. My lord, have you all improved? Can you feel it? Yes, sir, we can feel the increase in our internal strength, Alan Rach said. As the eldest sister, she usually responds, while the other 3 remain silent. Fang Hao nodded and glanced at the battle outside again. He gathered the group together and said, outside there's 1 demigod and 2 dark golds, while we have 5 dark golds in total. Can we fight them? After the 4 became dark gold, there were 7 dark gold in the territory. Lorana, Amanda, Ancient Blood God Servant, and the Black Armor 4 sisters. Amanda was in his own city. The Ancient Blood God Servant wanted him to stay there, but the giant ship was at war with the sea creatures. They still sent him back to the giant ship. After all, the Ancient Blood God Servant is better at fighting at sea. Therefore, only 5 dark gold players remain here. The 5 people looked at each other, and Lorana said, we can give it a try. The dragon's fighting style completely overturned Fang Hao's understanding. He always believed that even the smallest ants, when numbered in sufficient numbers, could kill an elephant. In the past, battles were truly won by overwhelming the enemy with sheer numbers. Only today did he realize his mistake. Ants can kill elephants, but they may not have the chance to kill eagles in the sky. On the contrary, the eagle is constantly depleting your forces. Okay, let's give it a try. As long as we can defeat that demigod, that's all that matters, Fang Hao said immediately. Yes, the crowd responded. After whispering among themselves for a moment, the group left the building. Outside the room, skeleton archers, armed with rifles and bows and arrows, were densely packed together. Bullets and arrows, like fireworks, kept shooting into the sky. The dragon heroes are extremely fast. As it rapidly passes through the air, the resulting airflow acts like a barrier. It reduces the kinetic energy of bullets and arrows. Lorana spotted the golden dragon and was about to rush forward when Fang Hao grabbed her. If you can't defeat it in an hour, go to Blood Prison and find me right now. We'll leave together. Fang Hao himself is in Blood Prison. Blood Prison is a prison built with very sturdy structures and semi-underground, making it one of the safest places. It is also unlikely to attract the enemy's attention. Understood. Lorana nodded, unfurled the giant bat wings, and headed towards the golden dragon. As soon as they got close, dark red energy spears were thrown out. It transformed into a whooshing sound as it attacked the golden dragon. The golden dragon's massive body flipped through the air, easily dodging the attack, but a hint of surprise appeared in its eyes. A vampire? This transmigrator is someone you've been supporting. This remote little place really gave her quite a shock today. The skeletons are endless, and there's also the dark gold hero. This has nothing to do with vampires. This is my man's territory. Lorana fanned herself with bat wings and met the other's gaze. A cold glint flashed in Jinlong's eyes. So what you mean is, looking directly into the other's vertical pupils, Lorana showed no fear. I'll kill you. As soon as he finished speaking, his aura surged instantly. The next second, the figure shot out. The monstrous demonic sword in his hand, trailing tongues of fire several meters long, slashed down at the golden dragon's neck. Jinlong narrowed his eyes, not bothering to take the attack head-on, but instead slightly shifting his body to easily dodge it. The thick dragon tail, carrying a wave of air, lashed out at Lorana. But at that moment, a massive flaming spear from crimson, mixed with bullets and crossbow bolts, appeared beside the golden dragon, carrying terrifying power, and struck in front of him. The golden dragon's eyes remained disdainful, and it continued its tail-lashing motion, extending its claws to grab the giant flaming spear. Just when they were about to catch it, another unexpected event occurred. The giant spear suddenly disappeared, replaced by the figure of a black armored warrior. Another dark gold? Jinlong's pupils contracted. The next second, the black-armored Alan Rage suddenly grew larger in midair, transforming into a towering giant in the blink of an eye. The warhammer in his hand was enormous, blotting out the sky, and possessed the power to shatter everything. It's coming down on my head. The incident happened so suddenly that Jinlong didn't have time to react. The hammer struck the golden dragon on the back. Thump! A deafening roar shook the heavens and the earth, and the immense energy unleashed a violent shockwave, blasting away the incoming arrows and bullets, as well as everything around them. Whoosh boom! The golden dragon's body plummeted rapidly, crashing into the tanner's factory. Fang Hao witnessed this scene through a doll. The soul fire flickered slightly. Holy crap, it actually worked. Both strikes succeeded, and neither gave the other a chance to catch their breath. Lorana quickly condensed a crimson spear and began frantically hurling it in the direction it was falling. With a whooshing sound, it shot into the smoke. Alan Rage, clad in black armor, plummeted through the air before crashing to the ground and charging toward the golden dragon. Its enormous body trembled slightly with each step it took to run. At the same time, the spirits of the dead all around, like a tsunami, it surged towards the direction where the golden dragon fell. As long as we can hold her back and prevent her from flying away, that would give you the opportunity to wear down your opponent. This area, like a swimming pool with a hole in it. The stark white skeleton lunged towards the center. The rest of the Dragon Elder and the Dragon Heroes were all taken aback. I originally thought that the dense array of skeleton soldiers below was the biggest trump card of this Transmigrators, but they never expected that the enemy would also have Dark Gold Hero. Seeing that Dragon Empress was injured, the surrounding heroes rushed to her aid. It just moved a little. Whoosh, whoosh. Flames shot up from below. Immediately afterwards, 3 bodies rapidly grew larger, transforming into 3 enormous black armored warriors that blocked the Dragon Hero's path. The Dragon Elders felt a chill run down their spines once more. 3 more Dark Gold Heroes. Who is this person? A Transmigrators who has only been here for less than a year. Why does he have so much dark gold? How is that possible? No unnecessary words were exchanged. Roar. Bang bang bang. The 2 sides engaged in direct combat, with dragon breath and magic weaving between them, and the Bone Dragon and the Orange Dragon heroes once again began their chase. The second phase of the battle between the 2 sides has begun. A battle between heroes. Alan Rage is still running hard. Skeleton warriors, who were surrounding the ruins, had already rushed directly into them, layer upon layer, densely packed together to form a wrapped sesame ball. Dee-dee-da-da. At this moment, raindrops continued to fall from all around the ruins. Under the bright sunshine, golden raindrops fell one by one. Upon closer inspection, they were not raindrops, but rather fine threads shaped like golden needles. It dripped continuously from the sky. Click, click, click. All the skeletons that rushed forward suddenly froze. The top of the skull was pierced by a gold needle, creating tiny round holes. These holes then spread rapidly, causing the entire skull to shatter. Clap, clap, clap. The explosive sound spread rapidly, like a chain reaction. The skeleton warriors that rushed into the area were all scattered into piles of white bones. You guys, you've really surprised me. A human figure emerged from the smoke and dust. Her long hair was tied up, and she wore a golden long dress. No one answered her question, but everyone knew that this was the human form of the golden dragon. The golden rain in the sky has dispersed. Whoosh! Alan Rage and Lorana, both clad in black armor, charged out simultaneously once again. One man threw a blood-stained spear from the air, while another swung a hammer and smashed it down. Oomph! Boring. The woman in gold snorted coldly, and her figure vanished the instant the giant hammer fell. It reappeared, now positioned above Alan Rage's head. He raised his fist and smashed it. Bang! Alan Rage immediately held his hammer horizontally in front of his chest, blocking Jinlong's punch. The two forces collided like meteorites, creating waves of energy. Bang bang, thud thud. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. Alan Rage's body crashed to the ground with a thud, kicking up a cloud of dust. Lorana saw that magic posed no real threat. He was carrying a giant sword when he approached. The woman in the golden dress transformed into a giant dragon in midair once more, its thick tail suddenly whipping out. Bang! Another muffled thud. He flung her away as if swatting a fly. The golden dragon continued its relentless attack, opening its massive jaws towards the fallen black-armored giant. Roar! The golden dragon breath, carrying the power to destroy everything, shot down towards the black-armored warrior below. Alan Rage dared not take the attack head-on and began to roll and dodge rapidly, his massive body constantly making evasive maneuvers. Lorana rose again, and the dark red energy spear in her hand condensed once more. They threw them over one by one. As the golden dragon dodged, beams of golden light clashed against each other. Alan Rage unleashed two fire spells simultaneously, and Fire Strike was activated again. With a flash, he reappeared in front of the golden dragon. This time, the golden dragon was prepared. It lashed out with its tail again, and Alan Rage transformed into a streak of light, flying backward once more. So, in this 2-on-1 situation, they didn't gain any advantage at all, and their disadvantages were becoming increasingly obvious. Lorana and Alan Rage kept charging forward, only to be repeatedly pushed back. It was exceptionally tragic. The battle had been going on for almost an hour. Lorana and Alan Rage were covered in a dense array of wounds. Clearly, their plan was doomed to fail, and there was no benefit in continuing to delay. Bang! The golden dragon's tail lashed out again, slamming hard into the charging Alan Rage. Alan Rage flew backwards for more than 10 meters, carving out a long furrow. Roar! The terrifying dragon breath began to pour forth. Alan Rage shielded his head with one arm, but still couldn't stop the terrifying energy. My arm started to scorch, melting and scattering like mud. Next came the body, under the horrified gazes of the crowd. His entire body was gradually enveloped by the dragon breath, and then turned into a pool of molten crimson. She died. The eldest of the black armor 4 sisters died from the dragon breath. Even Dark Gold level heroes are ultimately unable to complete challenges beyond their level. The power of the dragon demigods was on full display at this moment. The fact that they've managed to hold on until now probably proves how amazing these two heroes are. Boom. After eliminating the massive black armored warrior, the golden dragon attacked Lorana even more frantically. Lorana's slender body began to crumble under the repeated golden light and heavy blows. Fresh blood kept falling from the sky. Bang! Suddenly, Lorana's body fell from the sky again. It crashed to the ground. Stop her! Demon Puppet pointed from the top of the wall. Whoosh! Countless bone dragons and skeleton giant bats surrounded the pursuing golden dragon from all sides. They managed to hold off the pursuing golden dragon for a brief period of time. Fang Hao immediately jumped down from city wall, dug out Lorana from the rubble, and ran away. Lorana's body was severely damaged, with a huge hole in her chest. Although the wound is healing, it still looks shocking. Jinlong has already recognized her, and if she is detained, things will become even more complicated. Carrying the injured Lorana, he searched through the dense horde of undead. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed the golden dragon soaring into the sky once again. A golden sun appeared in the sky. Damn! The moment Fang Hao lunged into blood prison, blinding light enveloped the city. Whoosh! Large swathes of buildings have vanished, and the cracked ground is now covered in crimson mud. It was empty. Nothing was left behind. How big is this? It's just delaying itself to unleash its ultimate move. Demon Puppet, carrying Lorana, rushes into blood prison. Following behind were Dimitrika, the Lion King, and several Nisbets. And Jia took the injured Lorana. Fang Hao immediately took control of the demon puppets outside and loudly ordered, "Prepare to seal off the city. All heroes and bone dragons, retreat to Hidden Arms Cave No. 1. The rest of the troops, stand by and garrison the city." Whoosh! Bone Dragon began to fight and retreat, with more skeleton giant bats and skeleton vultures immediately filling the gaps. Several more heroes followed. Fang Hao issued another order, "Lock down the city." After saying that, he released the teleportation light screen and led several heroes into the light screen. At the same time, the red glow in skeleton soldiers' eyes disappeared instantly. Bang, bang, bang. Countless muffled sounds echoed from every corner of the city. Large plumes of dark red smoke, like compressed clouds. The rapid spread covered the entire city. The clouds surged and churned, showing no sign of dissipating. The entire city transformed into a swamp teeming with poisonous creatures at that moment. The dragon hero quickly raised his body, maintaining his distance from below. Dragons flapped their wings and unleashed magic in an attempt to dispel the smoke. But the smoke just swirled around without changing anything. How ruthless the number one in the world is, to pull this trick on me at the end. Dragon Empress transformed into a woman and sat on the dragon's back. On the giant ship, the appearance of Fang Hao and Jia and their companions on the ship immediately attracted the attention of the others. The ancient blood god's servant leaped from the sea onto the deck, shouting, "My lord!" Wait a minute. Fang Hao stopped the other person. He placed Lorana on the ground and poured 2 bottles of recovery potion down her throat. "And Jia, take Lorana to her room to rest." "Well, you don't worry. It's all right, as long as we're together," and Jia said, carrying Lorana into the room. Fang Hao remained silent, watching Jia leave. "Are you sad?" Losing a city that had just reached level 15 is naturally disheartening. But do you regret it? Fang Hao definitely believes he has no regrets. Dragons have never been a reasonable race, and when you confront them, you have no way out. The only regret is that I developed too slowly and didn't have the strength to fight against demigods. Take a deep breath and calm yourself down. Then immediately release the dimensional gate. The ancient stone gate opened again, revealing a hero and a vast expanse of bone dragon behind it. "Frederick, tell everyone to come out quickly, or the dragons might find us," Fang Hao said immediately. The skeleton dwarf hero, Frederick, is also in Hidden Arms Cave. There are also a lot of Nisbet and spirit binding guards available. "Yes," Frederick nodded. "Quickly, take all the bone dragons out and speed things up." The group emerged from behind the dimensional gate. Then came the bone dragon, which flew out quickly and landed on the surrounding decks. Once everyone was out, Fang Hao immediately closed the dimensional gate. "Frederick, count the number of people." "Yes, sir," Frederick replied again. After dealing with the dimensional gate issue, Fang Hao then looked at ancient blood god servant and asked, "Where are Bait and the others?" "My lord, Commander Bait is leading the army in an attack on Rainbow Pearl Island." "Should we call her back?" "Which direction?" "Over there." Ancient blood god's servant pointed. Fang Hao glanced around but didn't see any islands. With a snap of his fingers, an owl named Rawling appeared, flew to the top of the mast, and looked into the distance. Indeed, I could see an island in the distance. "Okay, that's all." After confirming this, Fang Hao took out the flame of faith and gently blew on the wick. Call. Crimson flames rose, and all the skeleton soldiers instantly ignited their own red soul fire, set up defenses, and increased vigilance. Fang Hao shouted, "Yes." All the troops responded in unison. The sky over the sea was beginning to darken. Bait and the others still haven't sent back any news. Fang Hao continued walking to the back of the ship and stood in front of Hero Altar. Open the building page. Blazing Martial God. Alan Rach, Dark Gold Tier, 3 Hero, 5 Traces of Living Beings, 100 Mithril, 5 Giant Essence, 10,000 Warfire Coins. Blazing Martial God, Alan Rach, Dark Gold Tier, 3 Hero, 5 Traces of Living Beings, 100 Mithril, 5 Giant Essence, 10,000 Warfire Coins. Blazing Martial God, Amarak, Dark Gold Tier, 3 Hero, 5 Traces of Living Beings, 100 Mithril, 5 Giant Essence, 10,000 Warfire Coins. Blazing Martial God, Alulich, Dark Gold Tier, 3 Hero, 5 Traces of Living Beings, 100 Mithril, 5 Giant Essence, 10,000 Warfire Coins. Necromancer, Nielsen, Orange Tier, 7 Traces of Death 4, Mithril 60, Shadowstone 60, Warfire Coins 6,000. Desert Reaper, Nisbet, Green Tier, 7 Traces of Death 1, Mithril 20, Shadowstone 20, Warfire Coin 2,000. The resurrection notifications were densely packed and lined up in a long row. Leading them were the 4 sisters who had died in battle. Aside from the heroes who actually died fighting against the demigod in Dark Gold, most of them were affected by the demigod's ultimate ability. During the last Divine Realm mission, Fang Hao obtained 34 Forgotten Souls. All of it was used to recruit Tier 10 units. Nisbet. Before the dragons attacked, some people who wrote Nisbet gradually became heroes. The number of Desert Reapers has been increased to 880. At this moment, more than half of these 800-plus people are inside waiting to be resurrected. Even worse off is Nisbet, who didn't become a hero. He's dead, and there's no chance of him being resurrected. Fang Hao watched the whole thing from beginning to end, and his heart sank suddenly. The name Spencer was not found in the list of resurrected individuals. I immediately clicked on the building prompt and checked it again. The above description made him feel even worse. The resurrection requirements state that hero units that have been transformed, crafted, or summoned cannot be resurrected. Spencer is a created hero and cannot be resurrected. Damn it, Fang Hao cursed. Suppressing his anger, he looked again at the densely packed resurrection materials. They chose to revive directly. The city is gone. What's the point of keeping the materials? Use it while it's still available. The first to appear were the Black Armor 4 sisters. Since it's a resurrection, the equipment and weapons on the character will not exist. With red hair, golden eyes, and a fair, slender body, she appeared in the center of the altar. The 4 men covered several sensitive areas with their hands, bowed slightly, and said, "My lord, okay, put your clothes on first." Fang Hao made some clothes and piled them aside. One by one, Nielsen, along with many other Nisbets, emerged from the altar. The dead are actually a little better off. It doesn't matter whether they wear clothes or not. They're just a bunch of skeletons. Upon seeing Nielsen, Fang Hao asked, "Scholar Nielsen, Spencer's name isn't in Hero Altar. Is there any other way to resurrect him?" Nielsen put on an ordinary liner robe and said, "My lord, there's no need to be in too much of a hurry. These heroes are consumables. If the corpse is well preserved, it can be brought back to life as long as it's repaired." Spencer was shot through the chest and torn in two. With funeral priest technology, as long as the loss is not too great, it can be repaired. Putting the 2 halves together shouldn't be too difficult, right? There shouldn't be any problems. After asking Spencer his questions, after arranging for someone to wait here for the rest of the resurrected people, Fang Hao led several important heroes to the meeting hall. The hall was silent. Fang Hao sat in the main seat, while the seats on either side of him were filled with heroes dressed in coarse linen clothes. Unlike previous meetings, today's meeting resembled a group of militia members discussing how to launch an uprising. "Frederick, how many bone dragons are left?" Fang Hao asked. Frederick replied, "Sir, there are still over 2,700 bone dragons left. Of the more than 7,000 bone dragons, only about 2,700 were sent back to Hidden Arms Cave. It's really quite tragic." Fang Hao nodded, his gaze returning to the group, and said, "What do you all think we should do next?" The heroes present all had a loyalty level of 100, meaning they were completely trusted. They will not defect because of the loss of the main city. "My lord, let's conquer the island tonight and use it as a base to continue our expansion," said the skeleton dwarf hero Frederick. Frederick is a city defense hero whose main responsibility in battle is commanding the defense of the city wall and deploying troops. Therefore, it was not greatly affected during the battle. Fang Hao ordered a retreat and led his men directly towards Hidden Arms Cave. The idea of occupying islands and continuing to develop them is actually somewhat similar to Fang Hao's. The sea tribes don't seem to have much power. They're always arguing with the Federation over trivial matters, threatening each other. However, they are very wealthy and have their own shops at the Alliance headquarters. This is something that ordinary forces cannot do. Fang Hao was about to nod when Alan Rage, the eldest of the four sisters, suddenly spoke up. That's not appropriate. How so? Alan Rage continued. Baiate's appearance is too conspicuous, and it's hard to say it won't attract the attention of others, so it's not suitable for the Sea Tribe to develop as their main city at this time. Her meaning was quite simple. The Silver Dragon's attack on the Sea Clan's capital city likely reached the ears of the Dragon Clan. Then we will face another attack from the dragons. With no improvement in strength, defending the city again is pointless. Miss Allenrage makes a good point. This giant ship beneath our feet is a mobile base, which is more suitable for our development in the current situation, Dimitrika added. Yes, indeed. Didn't the Lord of the Territory set up this giant ship precisely for this kind of situation to occur? The group generally agreed with the plan. A mobile base, located on a vast ocean. Even if the dragons knew, they might not be able to find him even if they mobilized the entire dragon race to search for him in this vast ocean. Fang Hao didn't speak, but frowned and pondered. He suddenly had another idea. Fixed bases are a burden, while mobile bases become concealed targets that are not easily detected by the enemy. So, could I try a special kind of guerrilla warfare? Cough, cough. He coughed twice, instantly silencing the entire room. Fang Hao said softly, the dragons are in our territory. What do you think would happen if we attacked Dragon Peak Mountain? Everyone was taken aback upon hearing this. As night fell, torches were lit throughout the city lord's mansion. Aragon sat at the head of the table, with several league members not far below him. Alliance leader, where have you been all this time? Why is your profile picture grayed out? Yes, you look much stronger. Did you get some opportunity to pursue further studies? Leader, what do we do next? Aragon looked at the group below, took a deep breath, and said, I'll tell you about what happened before when I have the chance, and we can discuss how to deal with the dragons together. The group's expressions instantly turned serious, and even though they were in the room, they still looked around anxiously. He said, Alliance leader, just say it. If we had an idea, we would have done it already. Whatever you say, we will do it. Aragon nodded and continued. It's not surprising that the natives suppress the transmigrators, and the dragons are even more powerful. Defeating them won't be easy. Yes, what should we do? Aragon glanced at the group of people nearby again and said solemnly, I have joined Fang Hao's forces to defeat the dragons and rescue our suffering brothers. Hunliner, Upper St. Golden City. Knock, knock, knock. The deafening alarm bells rang throughout the city. Guards rushed in, bowed, and said, Your Majesty, dragons are approaching this way. Amanda's heart sank. It seemed the attack on the main city had failed. With a wave of his hand, all the gold in the hall turned into liquid and flowed into the storage necklace, leaving the entire hall empty and unusually simple. Before long, a woman in a gold dress entered with two elders. Dragon Empress. Amanda immediately bowed. You died in battle? The Dragon Empress stared at her with cold eyes. Yes, all of them died in battle, but were resurrected through Hero Altar. They are planning to gather their forces and rush to your aid. Amanda answered calmly. Judging from the state of the dragons, even if they conquered the city, they did not gain any benefits. The two dragon elders were disheveled and covered in obvious wounds, while the Dragon Empress was also somewhat disheveled. Victory wasn't exactly a smooth one. Moreover, Fang Hao hasn't sent her any messages. He must be dealing with some things. As for Fang Hao being killed by the Dragon Clan, Amanda didn't even consider this point. Fang Hao isn't very good at fighting, but he's very thorough when it comes to survival. Moreover, he has many ways to escape, so catching him is not easy. Amanda was thinking to herself, but the Dragon Empress walked straight up to the throne. He sat cross-legged on the throne, his arms naturally resting on the armrests on either side. After glancing at the layout of the hall, he looked away without any interest. He continued, How much do you know about the city we attacked today? Amanda, standing to the side, replied, There has been no contact. My territory was embroiled in civil war just a few months ago, and we have had no contact with the transmigrators there. Oh, you, a dark gold, need to seize power through civil war? Dragon Empress asked curiously. The dragons attacked through several forces, but the heroes here were the most powerful. In this small place, one dark gold is enough to establish a stable regime. This place is different from the dragon realm. The regime here is always in flux. The previous leader was taken from me, but I took him back later, Amanda explained. Dragon Empress frowned, showing no interest in the convoluted scheme. He said directly, "Tomorrow, arrange for the army to come with me to that city again. I have a mission for you." Amanda paused for a moment, but still agreed. "Okay." Dragon Empress smiled and said, "Prepare the rooms. We'll be staying here tonight." "Yes, Dragon Empress." On the giant ship, having arranged everything, Fang Hao sat down in his chair and let out a sigh of relief. The hall was quiet, giving him time to reflect on today's battle. The strength of a powerful hero cannot be compensated for by military force alone. If even a demigod like the Dragon Empress can wipe out a large group with a single skill, then what about true gods? Wouldn't that mean wiping out the territory in one fell swoop? Fang Hao thought for a moment. I've identified 2 directions for my next step of improvement. One is the improvement of basic troop strength, such as Skeleton Archer and Skeleton Warrior. If these units reach Tier 8 or even Tier 10, their combat power can be raised to another level. The second point is the hero's rank, even if there is only one hero who can hold off the Dragon Empress. So the victory in this battle still belongs to ourselves. Therefore, the next step will focus on these 2 points for development. After thinking all this through, Fang Hao continued to examine his upgraded divine status. The fighting outside was too intense at the time, and I didn't have time to check on my godhood's advancement. As the core of a god's power, the divine essence will definitely undergo some changes after being elevated. Divinity, Level 1. Unlock traits: New Giant's Body, New, Faithful Faith, Immortal Essence, Divine Statue. Unlock skill: New Divine Vigilance, Divine Descent. Description: the core of a deity's power and all-powerful divine arts rely on the divine essence to operate. Giant's Body. All attributes plus 200%. Divine Faith. By dedicating oneself entirely to the faith and accepting and fulfilling God's will, believers have a chance to acquire the Divine Faith skill, which will increase in rank based on their faith. The essence of immortality. No need for food or sleep, and life state is not affected by time. Statue of a deity. The faction that erects this statue of a deity will be blessed by the statue, gaining plus 5% attack power, plus 5% lightning damage, and plus 2% fire damage. For directly subordinate factions, no statue construction is required for this to take effect. Divine Vigilance. Enhanced 5 senses, enabling one to discern lies in communication. Divine Descent allows consciousness to descend into the body of any follower with 100% loyalty. It is unaffected by distance, time, or plane. In the Divine Descent state, the target believer's divine consciousness will not be affected in any way. Releasing abilities that the believer does not possess will cause varying degrees of damage. Looking at the skills provided by the divine power, Fang Hao frowned again. Suddenly, I realized that being targeted by those gods wasn't such a big deal after all. The divine status, rising from 0 to 1, is like a child transforming into a martial arts master. The attributes exhibit exaggerated variations. First, there are the newly unlocked features. The Giant's Body trait has been increased from plus 100% to 200%, a doubling of the previous increase. This directly improves one's overall attributes, and it is a very important kind of improvement. It's more practical than having 1 or 2 more skills. The skill Faithful Faith is actually easier to understand. The Divine Faith ability exists within the Black Armor Force Sisters. Once unlocked, believers themselves are connected with the gods. When deities are elevated, believers will also experience a certain degree of elevation. Now that I think about it, it seems that this is how clergy in the church are promoted. Many clergy members, lacking high combat skills, can advance by offering their faith, much like the advancement method of divine faith. The last 2 items are Immortal Essence and Divine Statue. The Immortal Essence means that one does not need to eat or sleep, and one's life state is not affected by time. This is exactly what Fang Hao wanted. In a sense, it has already achieved immortality. No need to wait until I'm old to have Nielsen turn me into a skeleton, and no need to become a vampire and fear the sunlight anymore. But upon closer analysis, this description of immortality means that one has reached a state of immutability, but it does not mean that one cannot be killed by external factors. In other words, physical injuries, toxins, and powerful skills can still kill you. Personal safety must be guaranteed. We still need to survive. We can't become gods, and then be killed by someone. Next is the statue of the god. There's not much to explain. You'll get attribute bonuses when you set up a statue of him in the future. The attributes provided by the statue should be related to divinity. In addition to attack power, it also adds lightning and fire attack bonuses, although the bonuses are not significant. Other deities have around 10%, but he only has 5% and 2%. After analyzing the features, there are two more newly unlocked skills. They are Divine Vigilance and Divine Descent. Divine Vigilance enhances one's 5 senses, meaning one can see further and hear more clearly. It also comes with the ability to discern whether the other person is lying when engaging in direct communication. Facing directly here should mean face-to-face. Divine Descent is more like a higher-level version of Divine Descent, which can be cast on followers with 100 points of loyalty. Most importantly, it is unaffected by distance, time, or dimension. It's important to know that the biggest obstacle to Divine Descent is distance. It won't be effective if the distance is too great. Now, with Divine Descent, the distance problem can be solved very well. When you control skeleton soldiers or demon puppet, use Divine Descent. Use Divine Descent to transmit messages over long distances. After reviewing the attributes of the deity, Fang Hao felt much more relaxed. He was stripped of his blessings by the gods and even expelled from the household register by the god of the undead. None of that matters at this moment. After all, the gains far outweigh the losses. Even now, he is still sitting in his chair, worrying about how to deal with the dragons. There's also a feeling that I'm no longer an ordinary person. Outside the room, Bait, accompanied by the dragon and the bone dragon, landed on the deck. Seeing the troops gathered around, they knew that Fang Hao had arrived. The thought that he hadn't been able to take the city after fighting all day made him quite annoyed. It was so easy before. How come it suddenly became so difficult? With Bone Dragon in tow, it circled in the air several times, while the skeleton soldiers below began their attack. But they never managed to capture the city. A sea creature has turned the city into something resembling the dwarf fortress. He angrily ordered skeleton soldiers to prepare dinner for the dragons. She pouted and walked towards the central hall. Along the way, she sensed that something was off. She saw Nielsen and several Nisbets, all dressed in coarse linen clothes. These spirits, especially Nielsen, are very particular about their attire. That's strange. Was it a robbery? Bait muttered something to himself and walked into the hall. The hall was brightly lit, and Fang Hao sat in the front seat. How's it going? Did you manage to take Rainbow Pearl Island? Fang Hao asked with a smile as she entered. Fang Hao had never told her about the dragons attacking the city. It wasn't that he was afraid she would harm him, but dragons were, after all, a race of the bait. The two sides started fighting again, and it would be hard to accept if people found out. We might end up arguing again. Let's wait until the battle is over and a winner is determined before telling her the result. Bait crossed his arms and sat down to the side, saying, "Humph, I'll take it down. It's just a small force." Normally, Fang Hao uses a large number of people. Most of the bone dragons and their troops were mobilized this time, and the sea creatures were well prepared, so it's understandable that they didn't manage to break through. After all, it's a central island of power, so it's bound to be more complicated than the previous smaller islands. That's normal, Fang Hao said with a smile. Bait pouted, snorted, and turned to the side. After waiting a while, Bait glanced at him and said, "How's it going on your end? Didn't you say there was a battle?" "Not going too well," Fang Hao replied, and asked someone to prepare dinner for her. "You still have times when things don't go your way." Bait frowned slightly. She had witnessed the power of the territory firsthand. The fact that Fang Hao mentioned things not going smoothly made me wonder about the other person's identity. Seeing her frowning in thought, Fang Hao immediately complained, "I'm just wondering, why are there elves everywhere? Don't they have nothing better to do? They meddle in everything." Elves, that's just how they are, always meddling in other people's business. Dinner was served, and Bait ate it at the table next to him. He now understood why Nielsen and the others were in such a miserable state. It was killed by the elves and has just been resurrected. Sigh, I wonder how it will end this time. Fang Hao sighed. Bait looked up at him and said, "All right, if they catch you, I'll step in to save you." Fang Hao was taken aback. He could sense that Bai's statement was not a lie. "At least that's what I'm thinking right now. Are you really that good? What's so great about it? You let me and a Shibern go once, and I'll save you once. Then we'll be even," Bait muttered. Fang Hao smiled. "What about the dragons? What if they come to kill me?" Bait snorted and said, "Humph, scared now? Too late. I'll tell you. If they arrest me, please plead for me. Oh no, that won't do, Bait said between bites. Dragons can sleep for decades at a time. We agreed that you would let me leave after 50 years. As long as you keep your promise, this matter will be over by then. What if someone has insomnia and hasn't slept that long? Bait frowned, but still said, if you get caught, I'll speak up for you. If you catch a dragon, I'll secretly release him. You're clearly taking sides. There are so many dragons, and I'm just one person. How can that be the same? They watched me grow up, but you didn't. Fang Hao smiled and waved his hand. All right, I'm not going to argue with you anymore. You're being unreasonable. The two chatted for a while, and Bait finished his dinner. He patted his belly and let out a breath. She was quite satisfied with the food here. Anyway, it's much stronger than the dragon clan. Seeing that she had finished eating, Fang Hao continued. That's all for tonight. Get some rest. Tomorrow you'll still be in charge of attacking the Sea Tribe. Bait nodded. Okay, we'll definitely take them down tomorrow. After saying that, she skipped and hopped out. Bait has left. Fang Hao continued to tinker with his meager reward. There are 2 rewards after this upgrade to godhood. One is a blessing scroll, which grants the territory a favorable weather buff for 3 years. Given the current state of the territory, it's not suitable to use it. We should wait until the dragon problem is resolved and things stabilize before using it. The other reward was a map. Fang Hao opened the map and began searching for the latest location included in the map. The map zoomed out, and Fang Hao spotted a location to the south. If the giant ship is the center, then the location marked on the map is in the southwest. That is, the opposite position to the Federation. Looking at it this way, if you want to explore, you really need to go across the ocean to the past. Should we explore the map first, or fight Dragon Peak Mountain first? Fang Hao pondered, resting his chin on his hand. Because of the map rewarded by the divine power, the rewards will definitely be good. When facing the dragons, the only thing lacking is strength. After obtaining the reward, perhaps we won't be afraid of the Dragon Empress anymore. Even if we still can't beat them, it's good to have improved. Therefore, exploring the map is the proper way to improve one's own strength. Whether facing the dragons or other top forces, strength is an important bargaining chip in determining one's right to speak. But, on second thought, the dragons' elite forces were in their own main city, while the dragon's lair was just an empty shell. If we don't take action now, we'll miss our chance, and who knows when the next opportunity will come. Therefore, Dragon Peak Mountain needs to be attacked as soon as possible. After pondering for a while, Fang Hao had a rough idea of what to do. Then he got up and walked towards the room behind him. After leaving the hall, Fang Hao went into the bedroom at the back. After knocking lightly on the door, I pushed it open and went inside. There was a faint smell of blood in the room. Lorana lay on the bed, surrounded by blood, with gauze wrapped around her chest. She was holding a book and leaning against Njia, reading the contents together. You wouldn't guess that he was injured. Upon seeing Fang Hao enter, the 2 women merely glanced at him before refocusing their attention on their books. Lorana, how are you feeling? Fang Hao sat down beside her and asked softly. Okay, it's all right now, Lorana said. Show me. Lorana slapped his hand away, glanced at Njia out of the corner of her eye, and said, What are you looking at? Will looking at me make you better faster? Njia chimed in. The wound has healed. It's basically fine now. That's just how Lorana's constitution is. When the various parts of the body were assembled, they were connected at a speed visible to the naked eye. Its resilience is truly terrifying. Fang Hao placed his hand on her waist, rubbed it a couple of times, and continued, I have good news for you all. I've become a god and now have immortal life. Oh, okay, you're great. The 2 women answered without any emotion. This left Fang Hao speechless, unable to utter the rest of his words. Damn, you 2 are ruthless. Fang Hao was about to get up when he put his hand on her slender waist again and said, Lorana, can you contact your mother? I want to buy some bloodstone. Lorana looked up at him and said, Okay, I'll ask for you. The next day, Dragon Peak Mountain. A light rain was falling from the sky, making the winding, narrow path even more difficult to walk on. A group of people pushing carts struggled uphill from the foot of the mountain. The cart was covered with a leather blanket to keep out the rain, and underneath were various materials and tools for repairing the Dragon Clan's buildings. Along the way, carts would occasionally overturn, which would be met with a crack of whips. Hurry up, stop dawdling. A dragon hero stood on both sides of the mountain, urging the team to speed up their progress. The man who had been whipped cried out in pain a few times, then picked up his cart and continued on his way despite the rain. Everyone kept their heads down, pushing various carts and hurrying up the hillside towards the top of the mountain. Upon reaching the mountainside, one finds a huge plaza. There are many buildings in the square. Hero Altar is over there, and the Dragon Elder's Cave is in a few locations near the top floor. Aragon said softly as he moved closer. Are there a few dark gold items here? Fang Hao, also wearing a straw raincoat and pushing a cart, continued to ask. If what you said is true, and 2 elders are outside, then there is 1 more elder here. I'm not sure if there are any other dark gold heroes, but the caves above the mountainside are basically all orange heroes, Aragon said. Fang Hao nodded. Okay, I understand. Are you sure you can handle this? What if the dragons take revenge and start killing people everywhere? Aragon asked anxiously. He was also mobilizing the alliance to fight against the dragons. But the specific plan hasn't been discussed yet, and Fang Hao suddenly came over early this morning. When Aragon heard that they were going to take over Dragon Peak Mountain today, he was almost scared out of his wits. Are faction wars being started so casually these days? What's with your casual, childish tone? This is a dragon race, not some bandits at the gate. But in the end, Fang Hao still brought him here. He was already on the pirate ship, and he had no choice but to do as Fang Hao said. Once the fighting starts, take your men down the mountain and block the road. No one or any force is allowed to pass. You don't need to worry about anything else, Fang Hao said solemnly, glancing back at him. This is war, a fight to the death, with no way out. Okay, all right. Aragon nodded in agreement. The group continued up the mountain path. People kept leaving, pushing carts into each cave. If there is a dragon inside the cave, the cart will be placed at the entrance. If there is no dragon, the cart will be pushed into the cave, and nothing can be seen from the outside. Fang Hao led the remaining people straight towards the higher top. According to Aragon, the higher the dragon's status, the higher the cave they reside in. The location of the Dragon Empress is in the area at the top of the mountain. Fang Hao, wearing a straw hat, pushed a cart into the top of a cave where a giant dragon was depicted. The cave is exceptionally large, with a wide central area piled high with mounds of gold coins and jewels. A pale blue dragon lies buried in a pile of gold coins, its massive head protruding as it sleeps with its eyes closed. Ranslet, Iceforged Throat, Dark Gold Tier 3. As expected, he's a Dark Gold level hero, and it's a blue dragon. According to Bait, colored dragons are relatively rare, but they are generally quite powerful. Just like Bait, which is currently in the young dragon stage, it is already at the 9th level of orange. Ability increases with age. Even while sleeping, his strength increases rapidly. Those who train diligently or have special talent can become even more formidable. Fang Hao remembers that there was a blue dragon attacking his main city. So how come another blue dragon has appeared? The only difference is that the previous blue dragon's scales were azure, while the blue dragon before us is a light blue, almost whitish. It looks like the color has faded. The sound of footsteps entering the cave made the dragon, whose eyes were closed, open them. Fang Hao's steps faltered for a moment, and he stood still, somewhat nervous. They were already prepared to turn around and run away. Then, the dragon merely glanced at it before closing its eyes again, coiling its body and burying its head in the gold coins. It seems that, for the dragons, the fact that humans are repairing the cave is not a significant matter. Fang Hao saw the dark gold dragon and closed his eyes again. He breathed a sigh of relief and waved to the outside of cave. For figures, all dressed in straw raincoats and pushing carts, walked in. They put the cart aside, took off their raincoats, revealing 4 sisters who looked exactly alike. Fang Hao glanced at cave and saw that there was no movement. He opened the storage space directly, took out 4 huge warhammers and handed them to the 4 people. He then took out an old lantern, blew out the wick, and placed it on the ground. Everything was done very carefully, even handling things gently, without making much noise. Once everything is ready, the 4 men, carrying weapons, began their journey toward the sleeping dragon. As the 4 approached, the blue dragon immediately sensed something was wrong and suddenly opened its eyes, but it was already too late. 4 enormous bodies stood before him. No response was given. A large sledgehammer came crashing down on his head. Bang! The dull thud caused the head, which had just been raised, to slam heavily to the ground again, and the gold coins on its body tumbled down. Bang, bang, bang. Immediately afterwards, the 4 men swung their warhammers and repeatedly smashed them against the head and various parts of the body. The dragon's body began to struggle violently. Its body and tail kept crashing against the mountain wall. The cave shook, and rubble flew everywhere. But this is still a cave, and no matter how spacious it is, it cannot allow dragons to fly directly. This space is also perfectly suited to the four sisters' fighting style. The warhammer in his hand whistled through the air as it relentlessly pounded against the dragon's body. The blue dragon let out a series of painful howls. He pushed off with his feet and charged straight toward the cave entrance. But the four sisters would never let it out. They grabbed the dragon's tail and dragged it back to the cave. He continued to hammer wildly. There was quite a commotion inside the cave. The thumping sound carried out like muffled thunder. The dragon's mournful howl carried clearly through the valley. Fang Hao didn't even look at the outside reaction and directly released the dimensional gate. The ancient stone door opened, revealing a cabin crammed with bone dragons and upside-down bats. Standing at the very front of the dimensional gate was Lorana, dressed in a purple dress. Last night, he reconnected the dimensional gate to the cabin, instead of the Hidden Arms cave in the main city. Are you all right? Fang Hao looked at Lorana, who had originally intended for her to rest. All right. Lorana stepped forward first. Fang Hao didn't say anything more. Dimensional gate consumes one's own magic power. He immediately gave the order. Everyone out. Whoosh. A dense swarm of skeleton giant bats and thousands of bone dragons burst forth. The moment they flew out of the dimensional gate, crimson, colored flames instantly rose from the empty eye sockets of the undead. Soon, these giant bats and bone dragons filled the sky in a massive, dark mass. This made the already dim sky even darker. Fang Hao continued to give orders. Skeleton giant bat, attack all the caves with carts placed at their entrances. Bone dragon, block the dragons outside. Upon hearing the command, the skeleton giant bat quickly dispersed. With the detonator dripping from their chests, they poured into each cave in batches. Boom, boom. A series of deafening explosions rang out. Almost simultaneously, a loud alarm bell rang throughout the valley, but the sound of the bell was drowned out by the sound of the explosion. The entire mountain trembled incessantly, as if the sky had collapsed and the earth had caved in. It looked as if the mountain was about to collapse. Dragon units began to approach from all sides. In addition to giant dragons, there were also a large number of pseudo-dragons and pterosaurs. The number of dragons was already small, and these two battles against Fang Hao had further depleted their numbers. Only about 1,000 of the giant dragons in the entire mountain have survived. It flew menacingly towards the mountaintop. They had only flown halfway when they saw more bone dragons swooping down with red eyes. Roar! Roar! The black and red dragon breath shuttled continuously through the air. Blood and corpses dripped down in a splattering sound. Then a chase ensued in the air. The Merchant Alliance building for the Dragonkin. Two people were sitting in the luxuriously decorated hall. One was a dragon hero dressed in a green robe, and the other was a goblin in black overalls. Elder Bishop, Fang Hao is, after all, an important member of the Merchant Alliance. The dragons can raise any requests they may have, and we should try our best to resolve this issue through negotiation, the goblin said. The dragons known as Bishop wear dark green robes and have a pair of green dragon horns on their short brown hair. Its entire body was glowing green. The dragon glanced at the goblin with disdain and said, "Headquarters doesn't care, so why are you, a regional manager, worrying about this?" The goblin that arrived was none other than Kukti Tor, the person in charge of number 032. After this period of networking, I finally had the opportunity to meet with the high-ranking members of the Dragon Clan to put in a good word for Fang Hao. If he could, he really didn't want anything to happen to Fang Hao, whether for career or personal reasons. The goblin ignored the sarcasm in the other party's words and said, "I am also aware of the conflict between the Dragon Clan and Fang Hao. Why don't the Dragon Clan name a price and let Fang Hao show enough sincerity to resolve the misunderstanding between us?" Bishop sat sideways with his legs crossed, one arm draped over the back of the chair, and said with feigned helplessness, "Then you're a step too late." "It's not too late. There's still time to discuss everything." A few days ago, the Dragon Empress led her troops out, and yesterday news came back that she had captured the enemy city. Bishop glanced at him with a smile and asked, "He's dead now. How can you help him mediate this matter?" Kukti Tor stood there, stunned, finding it hard to accept. Fang Hao is dead. How could he die so quickly? Every battle requires planning and preparation over a period of time. It's impossible for the dragons to travel to Fang Hao's place so quickly. How could they have killed Fang Hao so quickly? That's impossible, the goblin persisted. Why not? The Dragon Empress personally led the team. Do you think he could still be alive? A mere nobody. Boom. Before the words were finished, a huge roar suddenly came from the mountaintop. As you approach, there is a continuous roar, as if the entire mountain is about to collapse. What the hell? The two rushed out of the room. Looking up at the mountaintop, their expressions all changed. The sky was covered by a dense mass of undead. Bone Dragon was engaged in a chase with the giant dragon, and swarms of skeleton bats poured into each cave. On the mountain path, people were still frantically fleeing downhill. The mountain shook, and falling rocks flew through the dust and smoke. The whole scene was in complete chaos. Bishop, ignoring the goblins around him, pushed off with his feet and transformed into a giant green dragon, flying towards the mountaintop. At the same time, Dimitrika, leading the undead army, began his attack from the foot of the mountain upwards. Hundreds of thousands of troops formed a thin, long snake on the winding mountain road, with bullets raining down into the sky, killing any enemy they could see. Heading towards them, Aragon was leading a group of human guards as they escaped. Seeing the undead army, I paused, almost turning around and running back. Mr. Dimitrika. Aragon recognized the leading general. Where are you going? Dimitrika asked, looking at him. Mr. Fang Hao instructed me to lead men to guard the foot of the mountain and prevent other forces from entering. Aragon explained immediately. He forgot all about it when he ran away. Now that someone has asked me, I immediately remembered it, and it's a perfect excuse. Where is the hero altar of the Dragon Clan? Dimitrika asked. There's a plaza on the mountainside. All the Dragon Clan's buildings are there. Aragon said, turning and pointing. All right, you can go now. Guard the entrance and make sure no transmigrators or any other forces are allowed to enter. Yes, yes. Aragon nodded hurriedly and led his men down the mountain. Inside the cave, the blue dragon struggled violently, letting out angry roars. 4 against 1. 4 dark gold beings are beating up a dark gold dragon. The simple, unadorned movements were like a human hammering an eagle caught in a trap. No matter how much it struggled and resisted, it could not break free from its restraints. This only spurred the 4 men to swing their hammers even harder, relentlessly striking him. Scales fell off, and blood splattered all over the surrounding walls. Roar! The struck blue dragon shook its head and exhaled a pale blue dragon breath. The blue dragon breath swept across the cave entrance and walls, leaving behind a thick layer of ice. Ice dragon. It was indeed different from the deep blue dragon. After the dragon breath, various ice attribute spells followed, freezing the entire cave into a thick layer of ice. He even sealed himself in ice halfway through the journey. However, all 4 sisters are born with fire attribute magic abilities, and fire and ice constantly appear. The warhammer in his hand continued to hammer relentlessly at the dragon's body. Bang! Inside the cave, the battle ended quickly. The mountainside was splattered with blood, and on top of the blood was a thick layer of ice. 4 dark golds attacking 1 dark gold in this kind of space is simply an overwhelming power advantage. After a flurry of blows, the dark gold dragon on the ground was on its last legs, its bones broken and its body covered in blood. Its half-closed eyes proved that it was not yet dead. Fang Hao, who had been keeping a close eye on the situation outside, turned around and saw the battle on this side, and said, "Just kill them." Blue Dragon's expression hardened, and he tried to struggle again. The giant hammers from all around were already crashing down on them. With a series of deafening crashes, the blue dragon's head was smashed open, and it died instantly. Fang Hao opened the dimensional gate again, where someone had already prepared wooden barrels and some tools. The 4 women worked together to throw the dragon's corpse into the dimensional gate. The 5 people exited the cave after the event concluded there. The battle between Bone Dragon and the dragon race continued in the sky, with the sky filled with dazzling and intense fireworks. Soon, Fang Hao's attention was drawn to 2 figures. Lorana is engaged in a fierce battle with a giant dragon with dark green scales. The green dragon breath and magic are extremely corrosive. Any target hit, whether it's a rock, a bone dragon, or a giant bat, will have its body completely corroded, which is extremely terrifying. However, Lorana was no weakling either. Wielding a heavy sword, she relentlessly pursued and attacked the green dragon with the help of a group of bone dragons. Moreover, the bigger it got, the fiercer it became, and Green Dragon began to lose ground. Another dark gold player? Didn't they say there's only 1 dark gold here? Fang Hao was startled. Luckily, Lorena recovered and came to help. Otherwise, this dark gold would have been lost. Green Dragon is really hard to fight in the air. Don't worry about them for now. Let's clear the cave first, Fang Hao said immediately. The four women nodded and quickly ran down the mountain. Fang Hao followed his older sister, Rage, into the nearest cave halfway up the mountain. Large sections of the cave had collapsed, and beneath the rubble lay a giant dragon with red phosphorescence. The dragon was in very bad condition, covered in blood, and constantly shaking its head. I don't know if he was stunned by the explosion or if the explosion caused him some kind of illness. Dragon Lord, Lester, Orange Tier 7. Killed him and hurry up. Rage swiftly moved forward, throwing the warhammer directly from his hand. Thump! With a muffled thud, Warhammer struck the dragon's head like a meteor. As blood splattered everywhere, Rage rushed to his side, his giant form grabbing Clamp's head under his armpit. After gradually tightening, pull hard. Click! With a sharp crack, the dragon's neck was snapped off, and its head drooped limply. Throw it in. Fang Hao opened the dimensional gate. Rage dragged the body out and threw it into the dimensional gate. Then, the two walked out of the cave again. Rage continued his search for new targets, while Fang Hao went to the location of the other three sisters to collect the dragon's corpse. The group moved downwards, quickly clearing away the heroes who were dazed and confused from the explosion. As for the heroes who were not seriously injured and had already joined the battle in the air, that task was left to Bone Dragon and Lorena. They cleaned the area from the top of the mountain all the way to the plaza halfway up the mountain. The battle in the sky ended when Lorena severed Green Dragon's head. They fought from morning until afternoon. The sky began to clear, and the fresh air carried the stench of blood. Fang Hao rode the Bone Dragon and flew to the top of the mountain. We entered the enormous palace. The palace was exceptionally tall and spacious, and its decorations were extremely luxurious. On the high platform, there is an ancient stone chair with two dragon horn-like decorations extending from its back. It seems that the dragons hold meetings in human form, even in their palaces. Otherwise, it wouldn't be this kind of seat. Fang Hao walked directly to the head seat and sat down comfortably. Dragon Peak Mountain has become your subordinate city. You can rename the city here and control all resources of the city and affiliated villages. Once seated, a system notification will appear immediately. This signifies that this dragon territory, which no one dares to provoke, has officially become Fang Hao subordinate territory. Dragon Peak Mountain actually covers a very large area. It is not a towering mountain, but a continuous range of mountains. However, the term Dragon Peak refers to the palace located on the highest mountain peak. Even the Dragon Empress probably didn't expect that when she attacked Fang Hao City, Fang Hao would steal her homeland in return. When you are behind your opponent in development, raiding their base is a good strategy. At least we won't lose money. In fact, Fang Hao's overall strength is no less than that of the Dragon Clan. The reason they were beaten so badly was mainly because they couldn't defeat the demigod Dragon Empress. The Dragon Empress was significantly more powerful than the Lord of Thunder he had encountered. There's no way that one move can raise a building to the ground. This time, it was a success. Even though Dragon Empress had made some arrangements, he failed to raid her base. Fang Hao wasn't afraid either. We'll just keep an eye on it from now on. As long as Dragon Empress dares to go out, he'll attack. Anyway, I have teleportation, and my troops are recruited, unlike the dragons who reproduce. Dragging this out will only harm the dragons. They'll slowly wear them down. Judging from the battle situation, Dragon Empress has not gained any advantage so far. On the contrary, her home base has been lost. Leave Fang Hao's name blank for now. Whether or not it's filled in, it doesn't matter. Once Dragon Empress returns, it's highly likely that Fang Hao will still not confront her head-on and will continue to choose guerrilla warfare. There's no need for anything special, as long as you get what you need. Dragon Peak City. City Tier, Level 15 Indigenous City. Attributes: Dragon Reproduction plus 20%, Resources Mining plus 30%, Dragon Cliff. Description: a city with attributes that can bring various beneficial effects, accelerating the city's construction and development. Level 15 Main City. Goodness, this is like swapping homes with the dragons. Dragon Empress came to my house, and I was at her house. Level 15 cities receive 2 additional boosts: Dragon Propagation and Resource Mining. The dragon race is notoriously low at reproduction, and this is even after the attributes have been increased. Dragon Cliff. This location is more suitable for dragons to live in, increasing dragon bloodline by 15%, dragon lifespan by 35%, and abnormal status resistance by 25%. I thought this level 15 city only had 2 additional effects. It turns out that everything was attached to this dragon cliff. It increased the bloodline and lifespan of the dragon race, and also improved resistance to abnormal attributes. It can be said that this is an environment completely designed for dragons. Unlock blueprints. Build a blueprint, blue, in the winged cavern, a blueprint, purple, in the flameborn cavern, a blueprint, orange, in the dragon's lair, a blueprint, orange, in the mountain vault, and a blueprint, orange, in the racial belief totem. The notification sound for unlocking the blueprint rang again. Blueprints also appeared in Fang Hao's hands. The quality of this unlock is really high. There are 3 orange cards at once. Fang Hao read it through from beginning to end. Giant Wing Cave and Flameborn Cave are 2 types of building blueprints, namely the cave where dragons live and the cave where dragon heroes live. In terms of faction, it corresponds to the houses inhabited by the human race. After the 2 blueprints, there are 3 oranges. Blueprint: Dragon's Lair, tough wood 2200, fine stone bricks 1500, cast iron block 880, metal parts 520, mithril 150, dragon crystal 5. Description: ancient and powerful dragons, known as the most powerful race, have lifespans as long as pine trees. Any adult dragon is enough to wipe out an entire legion of the next level. Dragon Nest is a building for dragon units. Once built, this structure can be used to recruit dragons. When it devoured Aragon's Lord's book last time, it unlocked the lairs of the pterosaurs and pseudo-dragon. This time, it has unlocked all the dragons. The dragon race already has a limited number of unit types, and I estimate I've almost unlocked them all. Since I've been expelled from the Undead faction, can I join the dragon faction? That's not right either. The dragons have almost been wiped out by us. It wouldn't be good to join their side now. Mountain Vault. Tough wood 3500, ironwood 2800, fine stone bricks 2500, fine stone bricks 1500, cast iron block 1200, fine iron 800, metal parts 280, mithril 120, rich essence 5. Description: great wealth will have a more secure way of being stored. A robust vault will make your assets safer. Goodness, an orange safe. What were the dragons thinking, designing something like this? This thing doesn't seem to be very useful. The treasury is in the city. If your territory is safe, the enemy can't touch your treasures. But if the city falls, what's the use of locking the money inside? Profound. Fang Hao suddenly realized. The dragons are afraid that their things will be stolen. Fang Hao did it before. He stole all the treasure inside when Spencer wasn't around. It seems this thing is for when we go out. Racial belief totem. Ironwood 1200, fine stone bricks 850, metal parts 520, mithril 150, dragon crystal 50, traces of faith 5, mana essence 3. Description: a steadfast faith makes a race more united and stronger. Architecture is a totem. After construction, it will increase the attack power of dragon units by 10%, defense by 5, and flight speed by 2%. Actually, there are many admirable aspects to the dragon race. The entire ethnic group is united. Any member of the dragon clan, even if they don't know each other, is considered one of their own when they are outside. If you die, I will avenge you. If one person kills you, I will kill that person. If a force kills you, the Dragon Empress will personally step in to destroy you. Leaving aside the dragon's greed and brutality, just considering their protectiveness of their own, they are far superior to orcs and trolls. Orcs and trolls are not very capable when fighting outsiders, but they are ruthless when fighting their own kind. Therefore, in some places, the dragon race's philosophy is quite acceptable. After reviewing the properties, I recorded all the different blueprints. At that moment, Dimitriko walked in, followed closely by a goblin whose eyes were scanning the surroundings. Sir, the entire Dragon Peak mountain has been brought under control. We happened to meet Mr. Kuktitor halfway up the mountain, Dimitrika said. Fang Hao was taken aback. He carefully examined the goblin behind him and realized it was indeed his old friend, Kuktitor. Before he could speak, the goblin spoke first. Oh dear, Fang Hao, it really is you. How could this happen? How did you end up here? It's clear that Kuktitor is a little nervous at this moment. They conquered the dragon's territory. That's something that could be written into the history books of any race. It's something I never even dared to imagine. Kuktitor, what are you doing here? Fang Hao looked at him curiously. If they didn't know each other, and if Fang Hao hadn't been the one providing the information about the dragons, he would have believed that this goblin and the dragons were in cahoots. The goblin wiped his sweat and said, I pulled some strings to mediate between you and the dragons. We were just talking about paying them some money when you attacked. The goblins were terrified. Once the war starts, Merchant Alliance's teleportation light screen will become ineffective, leaving him nowhere to run. They could only hide inside the building, trembling with fear. Later, a large number of undead appeared in the square. Among the pile of skeletons was a lizard man, who was quite easy to identify. He immediately recognized the other person as Dimitrika. Call out to the enemy immediately, lest the skeleton accidentally kill you. As soon as the battle is over, I will come to find Fang Hao. It's hard to imagine that he would be standing in the dragon's palace at this moment. Fang Hao was certain the other party wasn't lying, and was also surprised by how loyal the other party was, still running around for his sake. Dragon clan agrees to reconcile? Fang Hao asked. The goblin shook his head. He said you're dead. The dragon empress conquered your city, and you were killed. He's right. But you're not dead. I didn't die, but the city was captured by the dragon empress. Fang Hao continued. Then what are you doing now? Fang Hao said. As you know, I've never suffered a loss since I was a child. The dragon empress attacked my city, and I couldn't defeat her, so I had no choice but to take it from her. The goblin's head was buzzing. What did it mean to have never suffered a loss since childhood? Are these the main points? This is a dragon. No matter how bad your temper is it bigger than a dragon's? Don't be silly. I have a heart condition, the goblin said. Fang Hao smiled and continued. What's the situation with Merchant Alliance? Nothing major has happened, right? Whether the dragon empress conquered your city or you occupied this place, the news hasn't reached the Merchant Alliance. However, various taverns and some other factions have already placed bets on how many days it will take for you to fall, the goblin said. Oh, then you can keep it a secret and buy more. I might have to deal with Dragon Empress for a while, but I guarantee you'll make a fortune. The goblin's eyes lit up. He felt this was indeed a good idea. He is the only one who knows that Fang Hao is all right, and that his strength is no less than that of the dragons. Knowing the inside story, all you need to do is bet on the right thing. Then, what are you going to do now? The goblin continued to ask. Fang Hao replied, after dealing with Dragon Empress for a while, you won't need to mediate this matter anymore. They're mortal enemies now. Sigh, all right. The goblin could only nod. He did his best. Given the battle between Fang Hao and the Dragon Clan, it wasn't his place to interrupt. If there's nothing else, you should go back first. It's easy for you to get implicated if you show your face here. Okay, I don't have anything else to do, so I'll head back now. Fang Hao nodded. Dimitrika, pack some gold coins for Mr. Kuktitor to take back. Yes, sir. Dimitrika led the goblins away. The journey down from the mountaintop is quite long, and you'll need to ride a bone dragon down. Shortly after, inside the hall, footsteps sounded again, and the youngest of the four sisters, Asyulich, came out carrying a platinum treasure chest. With a bang, it was placed in the center of the hall. Fang Hao didn't say much. Open the treasure chest directly. Obtained. Molten Dragon Helmet Crafting Blueprint, purple. Molten Dragon Armor Crafting Blueprint, purple. Molten Dragon Claw Gauntlets Crafting Blueprint, purple. Molten Dragon Tail Spike Crafting Blueprint, purple. Dragon Binding Lock Crafting Blueprint, purple. Space Ring, orange. Wrathful Intent, orange. 158 Dragon Crystals, 1090 Warfire Coins. The rewards from the Platinum Treasure Chest are pretty good. In the fleeting reward, Fang Hao spotted orange and purple. This is already a very high reward from opening treasure chests. Orange, in particular, is very difficult to obtain through any means. Fang Hao began to examine them one by one. The first blueprint is the Dragon Purple set. The set that Bone Dragon is currently equipped with is the Dragon White Steel set, which belongs to the blue equipment category. Things were fine before, but as the enemy's strength increased, this outfit is hardly enough to meet Fang Hao's requirements. He had wanted to upgrade Bone Dragon's equipment for a long time, but unfortunately, he never had the opportunity. This is perfect, as it meets Bone Dragon's equipment requirements. Molten Dragon Helmet, Tough Leather 35, Cast Iron Block 28, Fine Iron 15, Metal Parts 22, Mithril 3, Molten Dragon Armor, Tough Leather 150, Cast Iron Block 120, Fine Iron 55, Metal Parts 100, Mithril 12, Molten Dragon Claw Armor, Tough Leather 45, Cast Iron Block 45, fine iron 35, metal parts 72, mithril 5, molten dragon tail armor and tail spikes, tough leather 95, cast iron block 85, fine iron 50, metal parts 65, mithril 70. The entire set represents a significant upgrade in the materials used in the equipment. Materials such as fine iron and mithril have appeared. The set's attributes are quite good. Effect: magic resistance plus 10%, flight speed plus 15%, dragon breath damage plus 15%. 3 attributes were added in total. In particular, the damage from the later dragon breath skill is an amplification of the main skill. The next blueprint is the blueprint for making the dragon lock. Blueprint for the dragon prison lock. Ironwood 550, fine stone bricks 450, cast iron block 1200, white steel ingot 1050, metal parts 850. Description: the shackles used by dragons to punish offending members of their clan can effectively restrict the movement of dragon units. A prisoner's instrument used exclusively by dragons. It serves the same purpose as the shackles worn by humans. However, this only traps the dragon units. It cannot control the dragon heroes. After all, dragons can change their size after becoming heroes, unless they can also reach the level of orange items like the prisoner's restraints. Otherwise, it really would be difficult to control. After reviewing the blueprint, all that remains are 2 finished pieces of equipment. Space ring, orange. Category: necklace. Ability: magic space, 5 cubic meters. Description: a small magical space created using spatial magic, which can store items at any time. This wasn't the first time he'd acquired an accessory with storage space. The space pendant I obtained last time was given to Amanda. Use it in conjunction with her ability to control money. This time, the spatial ring is perfect for Lorana. I had already promised her that. Moreover, given her slender figure, it would be quite inconvenient for her to carry a giant sword that was thicker than her waist all day long. Anger, orange. Category: amulet. Effect: all attributes plus 5%, roar of fury. Raging roar. When equipped with Wrath of the Gods, Dragon Breath's range increases by 18%, and its damage increases by 25%. Description: anger is a source of power. It can make you unleash greater strength than ever before. This prop is a necklace. The necklace is designed as a golden chain, connected to a golden dragon claw, which holds a dark red gemstone. The dark red gemstone emitted a faint energy fluctuation. Judging from the gemstones alone, it resembles the style of a vampire. But clearly, this equipment belongs exclusively to the dragon race. In terms of effect, it increases all attributes by 5%, but the subsequent angry roar is specific to a particular race. Dragon breath range plus 18%, damage plus 25%. Currently, only dragons seem to possess the dragon breath ability. If other characters equip it, they can only utilize the purple equipment's effects. After examining the 2 pieces of equipment, all that's left are the dragon crystal and the warfire coin. Perhaps because dragon crystals are even harder to obtain, only 158 were awarded as a reward. Normally, the faction materials rewarded by a platinum treasure chest are over 200, approaching 300. There are 1,090 warfire coins. There's not much to say about them. These days, I don't even care about a few $100s. After reviewing all the rewards, Fang Hao collected all the blueprints. The rewards from the platinum treasure chest are actually quite good, but I still felt a little regretful. The 2 orange accessories don't significantly improve the overall strength of the territory. In particular, there is no equipment that can counter Dragon Empress. On the contrary, Purple's dragon set will bring a certain boost to the territory's strength. After all, the main fighting style is still the human wave tactic, and individual improvement is only a small part of it. After checking the rewards, Fang Hao stopped sitting in hall. The chair was cold and uninteresting. Just as they stepped out of the palace, they saw Dimitrika rushing back. He said directly, "Sir, the prisoners have been counted. There are 12 orange heroes, 345 ordinary dragons, and more than 2,000 low-level troops. If we kill them like this, what about the 12 orange prisoners left? Races with longer lifespans have an advantage and produce more heroes." After a slight pause, Dimitrika continued, "There are quite a few of them. Should we kill them all? A large quantity indicates danger. The feud has already been established. Killing them all will prevent many dangers from occurring." The group walked outside together. Fang Hao thought for a moment and asked, "Are these prisoners well behaved?" they're fairly well behaved, but dragons are too large to be properly guarded. Dimitrika reminded her again. It seems his suggestion was to kill them all to eliminate any future trouble. But Fang Hao doesn't think so. Both the dragon and the orange hero can be recruited, and killing them would just turn them into a pile of skeletons, so it wouldn't really make much of a difference. Well, don't worry about that. I'll make some shackles to control the dragons. Orange hero, you can turn them into human form and wrap them in several layers of chains. If Amanda were here, that trick of wrapping her body in gold nuggets would have been quite effective. When the time comes, bring Amanda over and give each of these dragon heroes a large gold nugget. Dimitrika followed behind and continued. My lord, also, Hero Altar is now under our control. Should we destroy it? Hero Altar. Once the bound Hero Altar is destroyed, these fallen heroes are instantly killed. Unless an exceptionally powerful deity intervenes, there's no way to save them. This is why major conflicts can easily escalate into factional wars, because in ordinary duels and assassinations, the opponent can be resurrected even if they die. It's completely meaningless. Come on, take me to see this. Stepping out of the main hall, you'll find yourself on a long, winding mountain road. The road was densely packed with skeletons, each pushing a cart loaded with gold coins and gems. Each cave contains piles of gold coins, and moving them out is no small task. The group boarded the bone dragon and flew directly to the plaza halfway up the mountain. In the open space in the center of the square, a mountain of gold, 2 or 3 meters high, had been piled up, and skeletons were continuously adding gold coins to it. The wealth of the dragon race is simply exaggerated. The average wealth per capita is probably the highest among all races. What about the prisoners? Fang Hao continued to ask. My lord, over here. Dimitrika led the way to the side, passing through the densely packed skeleton army. Near the bottom of the mountain, many dragon soldiers were being held captive. At the very front were dragon heroes who had transformed into human form, both male and female, locked in iron cages with shackles. Behind them were giant dragons, as well as some lower-ranking dragon units, in slightly larger numbers. Iron nails were driven into the dragon's wings and pinned to the ground. My lord, it is Commander Dimitrika. A Nisbet approached. Fang Hao nodded and said, I'll make some prison equipment. You can put it on these dragon soldiers. Keep these heroes under separate guard and don't let them escape. Yes, sir. Open Lord's book, find the dragon lock blueprint that you just unlocked, and start crafting it. Hundredfold amplification triggered. Obtain dragon lock 404. This dragon binding lock is meant for dragons to wear. It could bind the wings and neck, and drag stone blocks and iron balls below. Dragging it along is fine, but flying it away directly would be quite difficult. Dragon heroes are ineffective, low-tier units are useless, and there are over 1,000 bone dragons watching from above. Nisbet recruited more skeleton soldiers and began installing these prisoner devices on the dragons. The brilliant forest valley, elven race, the territory it rules. In the courtyard behind Lord's Manor, a delightful fragrance wafts on the breeze, and beautiful butterflies flutter around the lush flowers. Transmigrators Savannah sat in the white arched gazebo, picking up pastries with her slender white fingers and putting them into her mouth while looking at the Lord's book. As you look through it, you can see that the beautiful embroidered eyebrows have already furrowed slightly. How is he still alive? Several days have passed, and the Transmigrator's rankings remain unchanged. Fang Hao remains in first place, her ranking unchanged. She still holds second place. How is that possible? Could it be that the Fang Hao the Dragon clan is looking for isn't this person? But besides him, which other Transmigrators would prompt the Dragon Empress to personally intervene? Savannah was filled with doubt. Tap, tap, tap. Just then, soft footsteps sounded from the stone corridor beside them. An elf with golden hair and pointed ears, wearing a fitted blue robe, walked over. After a graceful bow, he placed the long box on the table and said, Lord, your custom-made weapon is complete. Not long ago, Savannah had his men order a custom-made weapon from the Firehammer shop. However, it also depleted a significant portion of her savings. The completion time far exceeded her expectations, and a smile appeared on her face. Opening the long, narrow gift box reveals a spear that glows with fluorescence. She closed the gift box again and said softly, Let's go. Come with me to Eversong Capital. I happen to have some things to ask you. Yes, sir. They took the gift box and walked outside together. A large quantity of gold and silver jewelry was transported down. piled up on a mountain of gold. Besides gold coins and gems, you can also see the golden crown, scepter, and necklace. Although they are all ordinary items without any special attributes, they were clearly stolen from some country. Moving so much stuff won't be an easy task. If it weren't for the need to keep this information confidential, I would love to just open the Merchant Alliance building, exchange it for a Warfire card, and take it with me. I don't know why dragons like gold so much. Can't I sleep on the Warfire card? Moreover, what's the point of having so many Dujin coins if you don't spend them and just sleep with them all day? It's not afraid of being uncomfortable. Ugh. Fang Hao was looking up at the gold when the sound of communicating conch shell came from Lord's book. Upon opening it, they found a conch shell left for the giant ship. Sir, Miss Bate has committed suicide. Holy crap. Inside the hull of the giant ship, Fang Hao sat in the main seat, looking at Bate, who had just been resurrected. The silver-haired girl, her eyes filled with tears, glared at him angrily. I felt both wronged and furious. Why? Fang Hao sighed inwardly. When people come into contact with each other, feelings will always develop. Last night, Bate said that when he got back, he would help him resolve the conflict with the dragons and let it go. Unfortunately, the two sides started fighting much faster than Bate had anticipated. Being caught in the middle is more difficult for her than for either side or anyone else. You committed suicide because I killed a dragon? Fang Hao asked. He had actually anticipated that Bate would cause trouble for him, but I never expected it to happen in such an extreme way. Bate stared at him with tears in her eyes, then said, "Why did you resurrect me? Why didn't you just kill me too? There was no fighting with elves, it was war with dragons. I came back at noon today, intending to brag to Fang Hao about my achievements, saying I'd definitely take down the Sea Tribe tonight. What they saw were the corpses of 2 dark gold dragons. These are elders who watched her grow up, so naturally they can't accept that such a thing is happening right before their eyes. The Dragon Empress led her troops and captured the main city yesterday. Those who were resurrected yesterday all died at the hands of the Dragon Empress." Fang Hao explained softly, looking at her pitiful appearance. "Impossible. Dragon Peak Mountain is so far from the main city. How could we possibly lead troops to attack it?" Bate said angrily. "Not everyone can teleport. Even a demigod like the Dragon Empress cannot teleport. Elven race used some kind of teleportation to send the Dragon Empress to the vicinity of the main city, and the main city fell within half a day," Fang Hao explained. Bate choked up, her mind in turmoil. During this period of contact, Fang Hao has been very nice to both her and to Shibern. Originally, he planned to return and persuade the dragons after fulfilling the agreed-upon 50-year period. Unexpectedly, the two sides started fighting again. Moreover, the battle has escalated to the point where both sides are attacking each other's main cities. Then kill them all. They're all my family. Dragon Peak Mountain is my home." As she spoke, large tears streamed down her face again. "With both sides at war, I don't really have any good solutions," Fang Hao said helplessly. "Can you please not kill them? I'm begging you." Bate suddenly raised his head and looked directly at him. "Oh, what a tragedy. Why did I write her name on the dream contract in the first place? If I don't kill them, they will kill me, kill Mealy, kill Njia, kill everyone here. Don't you know how the dragons operate? I'll beg my mother to stop chasing you. Please don't kill them." Bate continued, "Your mother? I didn't see any silver dragon. The Dragon Empress is my mother. I'll go and tell her that our grudges are all a misunderstanding. Once you're all right, my people won't bother you anymore." Bate continued. According to the Dragon Mother, she was not her biological child. Instead, the colorful baby dragons hatched in this generation are all raised by the Dragon Empress and will call the Dragon Empress their mother. Of course, at present there is only one baby dragon, Bate. However, dragons have a very long lifespan, and new baby dragons will gradually be born. Fang Hao did not answer immediately, but pondered the possibility of this matter. Given the dragon's temperament, there seems to be no possibility of reconciliation. Not to mention the dragons he killed, Dragon Peak Mountain was completely destroyed by his own actions, and all the gold coins and jewels were taken away. How could the Dragon Empress, the leader of a first race, tolerate such an injustice? He doesn't believe it anyway. "Please?" Bate stared at him with wide, teary eyes. "Fang Hao, I've never asked you for anything. Please don't kill them. They're my family, just like Yer and Lorana are to you. Please." After saying that, he knelt down. Fang Hao was also a little reluctant and said, "Okay, really?" Bate said in surprise. "Instead of trying to persuade the Dragon Empress, you can try to persuade the heroes who have died first. After all, it's past the resurrection time. so it will be difficult to save them. Fang Hao continued. Bai's efforts to persuade the dragons had no effect on him. They were able to persuade these dragon heroes to work for them and increase the strength of their territory. If we can't convince them, it's not too late to have Nielsen make it into an undead hero. However, the only problem is those 2 dark gold dragons. There aren't many ways to control them, so we can only wait and see how things go. As for Bait persuading the Dragon Empress, he didn't hold out much hope. Would such a strong and powerful woman let him go so easily? That's impossible, unless you can offer something the other party can't refuse. But what is Dragon Empress lacking? He lacked it, and he couldn't provide it. Then what should I say? They definitely won't listen to me. Bait asked hastily. The 2 Dark Gold members who died were Dragon Elder and a high-ranking official. How could they possibly listen to a mere girl like her? Fang Hao thought for a moment and said, just tell the truth. You are also a prisoner of war now and will work for me for 50 years. If they submit, they will work for 50 years like you. If they don't, I will destroy the altar and they will be turned into undead. No, don't kill them. I'll try to persuade them. With that, Bait got up. Fang Hao shook his head. Don't rush. Calm yourself down before you talk to them. Okay, sure, Bait said, sobbing. After a hero dies, they can communicate through the altar. Priests in most factions will do it, and so will Nielsen. Bait will be sent to persuade the dragons. This is also a chance for Bait. Otherwise, she might develop some psychological problems in the future. Let Bait calm down first, while Fang Hao heads to Dragon Peak Mountain to continue directing the looting. Dragon Peak Mountain, Mountainside Plaza. Sir, please come here for a moment and take a look at these, Dimitrika said as he hurried forward. Fang Hao was taken aback, but still followed them into the building on one side. As soon as he pushed open the door, Fang Hao's eyes widened instantly, revealing a look of delight. Inside the room, a small mountain was also piled up. This mountain was crystal clear and seemed to illuminate the entire room. Dragon Crystal, a small mountain made of dragon crystal. Yes, the places where a race lives are rich in materials of that race. Orc territory produces beast tooth stone, while Huiwe Highlands produce bloodstone. With Dragon Peak Mountain captured, there would naturally be a large amount of dragon crystals. Approximately how many are there? Fang Hao's heart pounded. There are nearly 1,000 now, and Soldier is still searching. The number should increase further, Dimitrika continued. Fang Hao nodded. Okay, let the soldiers search thoroughly, but be careful not to damage the environment here, and especially take care of the Bai's feelings. Understood, sir. As night falls, torches illuminate the entire Dragon Peak Mountain. The countless skeletons continued their looting. The next day, the undead army of 20,000 men has returned to Fang Hao's main city. At this moment, the city looked truly desolate. At first glance, one sees the dilapidated and dented city wall and the watchtower that has collapsed on top of the wall. Most importantly, the entire city was shrouded in a dark red mist. The clouds and mist swirled and lingered for a long time. The color and concentration clearly indicate the presence of some deadly toxin. Even the most powerful living beings, as long as they are still breathing, would not dare to venture into this poisonous fog. A lazy voice came from inside the golden carriage. Humph, that transmigrators sealed the city with poison gas. You undead aren't afraid of this gas. Go and search the city. There are quite a few soldiers in that city, and I'm afraid my men are. Amanda said deliberately. Don't worry, we've already cleared it out. There's hardly anyone left, Dragon Empress continued. Okay, Amanda agreed. Inwardly, however, I cursed him. I'd never believe you. She had participated in the deployment of troops in the main city, and she knew exactly how many troops were stationed there. It would be better to just take over the city directly, but now that the city is sealed off by poison gas, it's impossible to completely clear out the troops inside. But it doesn't matter. It's just playing along with the other party's act. Okay, what do we need to do after we go in? Amanda asked. Dragon Empress replied softly. Find out where the poison gas is coming from. If you find it, shut it off. If you can't shut it off, then look for traces of my daughter, the Silver Dragon. Amanda had met Bait before, but she didn't show any reaction on her face. Okay, after counting the troops and saying a few symbolic words, he then led his troops toward the city. The poisonous fog filled the entire city. This limits the visible range to less than a meter in front of you. Even if you fan out some wind, it only makes the mist churn a little, but it can't disperse. Enter the city. The situation was far worse than Amanda had imagined. Ruins and broken walls, broken beams and shattered tiles. The ground was covered with a thick layer of white bones, and some dragon corpses could also be seen. The skeleton archers and skeleton warriors stood densely packed on the ruins, ready to be deployed. They stood there motionless, completely still. "Make some noise and show those guys outside," Amanda ordered. Fang Hao was beaten so badly by the Dragon Empress. She doesn't want Upper St. Golden City to end up like that. Moreover, Fang Hao has the skill to escape, but she doesn't. After giving the instructions, the soldier behind him got to work. Then the sounds of fighting rang out, clanging and banging, and a couple of explosions. The atmosphere is rendered very realistically. Amanda gently waved her hand, and Skeleton Archer, who was blocking her way, made way for her. As she went deeper, she became increasingly surprised. The original industrial area is gone, leaving only a large empty plot of land with a layer of solidified material on the ground that resembles cooled molten iron. Continuing forward, the square and half of the residential area disappeared, leaving only emptiness. I wonder what the fight was like back then, that it was so intense. Only when we reached the Lord's Manor did we look up at the enormous palace. Bathed in the morning sun, it radiates a sacred light. Amanda entered Lord's Manor, sat down in her old spot in the hall, took out a communicating conch shell, and said, "Fang Hao, what's the next step?" On the giant ship, Fang Hao just handed the spatial ring to Lorana. Then I received a message from Amanda. "Fang Hao, what should we do next? What's wrong? Did something happen on your end?" Fang Hao replied, picking up the communication conch shell. "The Dragon Empress forced me to lead my troops into the main city to shut down the poison gas and search for Baiade's whereabouts." Then, Amanda recounted what had happened over the past 2 days. Fang Hao listened quietly and gained a general understanding. It seems that Dragon Peak Mountain didn't have time to relay the message to the Dragon Empress, who is still preoccupied with the poison gas in her main city. After thinking for a moment, he said, "Don't shut off the gas yet. You and she can stall for time. I'll send Bait over to handle this matter later." "Okay, I'll see how it goes. By the way, since you're in the city, look for Spencer's body, as well as the 4 sets of giant black armor and the Warhammer long-handled sword. I need those," Fang Hao added. "Okay, I'll contact you once I find it." "Good." After ending his conversation with Amanda, Fang Hao sat in his chair, pondering his next plan against Dragon Empress. It seems the dragons have driven him away. In fact, in terms of battle losses, the dragon race suffered more, but the demigod Dragon Empress was a difficult opponent. As long as there are heroes who can restrain the Dragon Empress, defeating the Dragon Clan shouldn't be a problem. I pondered for a while. I casually flipped through the Lord's book to see if this matter had any impact on the transmigrators. As soon as I opened the World Channel, the screen was filled with ads and all sorts of messy information. Even when things were slowed down, no one mentioned anything about the dragons. It seems this incident hasn't spread within transmigrators yet, otherwise it would definitely have become a hot topic. I glanced at it briefly, and was about to turn it off when my hand stopped moving. A new message suddenly popped up and caught his attention. The Sea Clan royal family's victory celebration banquet was attended by the Sea King, ministers, and generals. The Sea Clan beauties were also quite stunning. Pictures, pictures, pictures. A victory celebration feast for the sea creatures? Fang Hao clicked on the image to enlarge it. The photo shows a palace filled with various sea creatures with snake tails and human bodies. In one of the pictures, the sea creatures wearing blue brocade robes and crowns stand out. It seems this person is Aquaman. During the last underwater battle, Fang Hao only caught a glimpse of the other party from afar and saw that he was sitting on the back of a shark, which looked pretty cool, but he didn't really get a clear look at his appearance. Now, comparing the photo with the person in the picture, we can confirm that it is indeed this person. He had a fiery red beard and a muscular physique like a bodybuilding coach. Besides the Sea King, the remaining photos also feature ministers and officials of the Sea Clan, who appear to be top-ranking members of the Sea Clan. They waited and waited, but found no news about the sea creatures. Then I saved the picture. "Call the 4 Allen Rage sisters over," Fang Hao said to the door. "Yes, sir." Soon, the 4 sisters walked in at the same time. The eldest sister, Allen Rage, spoke first. "Sir, you were looking for us?" Fang Hao stepped down from his chair and said, "I want you to go to the Sea Tribe and capture their leader." "Can you do that?" "Sea creatures? What level are they?" Allen Rage asked. "It should be Orange Hero, definitely not Dark Gold," Fang Hao replied. "Last time, he was defeated by the ancient blood god servant after only 2 moves. It definitely didn't reach Dark Gold level." Allen Rage nodded. "That solves the problem. What should we do next?" The 4 players have now been promoted to Dark Gold. A direct attack might not be enough to breach a well-defended city. However, launching a blitzkrieg-style attack on a target may not be impossible. These are just a few people. They're having a banquet. Go in and take control of them. Fang Hao showed the photos to the group. Understood, sir. Rainbow Pearl Island. A victory celebration banquet is being held inside the magnificent royal palace. During these past few days of siege warfare, everyone in the city has been on high alert, fearing that a single misstep would allow the undead to breach the city walls and their heads to be hanging from the city wall. But they persevered. Yesterday at noon, the silver dragon left with the bone dragon and never returned. The giant ship, filled with the dead, also sailed away from the island's perimeter last night. All of this proves that they have won. The damned undead have chosen to retreat. The sea creatures remain the darlings of the ocean, protected by the sea god. The melodious music faded slightly as the Sea King, dressed in a blue brocade robe, slithered to the center of the platform. The entire room gradually quieted down, and all eyes turned upwards. Neptune stroked his thick beard and said loudly, "In just 1 month, the sea creatures have undergone unprecedented changes. Those suddenly appearing undead have conquered Giant Claw Island and Yuxiang Island, and have launched an attack on Rainbow Pearl Island." Silence remained below, and each sea creature wore an expression of hatred. But, this time, the enemy did not break through our defenses. With the efforts of the royal family, ministers, and all the sea creatures, we have shown unprecedented unity and strength. We defeated the undead, drove away the enemy, and achieved final victory. Let us raise a glass to this outstanding victory. The sea creatures will prevail. Splash. All the sea creatures, including the invited transmigrators, raised their glasses in unison, declaring, "The sea creatures will prevail." Bang, 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 bang. Just as everyone raised their glasses and shouted, they were interrupted by 4 muffled loud thuds. It was as if some heavy object had been thrown down from the sky and crashed onto the ground. Everyone shrank back in fright. It kept looking around, searching for the source of the sound. The alarm didn't go off, so it probably isn't that the undead have returned. Aquaman's expression also turned somewhat unpleasant. He had just finished speaking and hadn't even received any praise from his subordinates yet, when this situation suddenly arose. "Someone, go and see what's going on," Neptune said coldly. Guards replied, having just walked out. Then came the sounds of fighting, followed by a series of banging sounds. Groups of guards were driven into the hall after being beaten. Before Aquaman could react, whoosh, a giant, fiery red arrow shot straight at him. As it got close, it instantly transformed into a figure clad in iron armor. "What are you?" Bang! A dull thud rang out, and the burly Aquaman was forcefully slammed to the ground. "Damn it, you're asking for it." Aquaman roared angrily, immediately preparing to retaliate. Before he could finish speaking, he felt himself being flung away. Bang! A dull thud rang out, and Aquaman was slammed to the ground once again. Whoosh! Bang bang! The human body, which was not particularly tall, unleashed terrifying power. Grabbing the end of Aquaman's tail, he began to swing it left and right, slamming it onto the ground on either side. Smoke and dust billowed up, and blood was splattered everywhere. As the orange hero, Aquaman was utterly powerless to retaliate at this moment. He couldn't even utter a cry of pain. After the shaking stops, Aquaman vomited a mouthful of blood and collapsed weakly to the ground. Seeing that Aquaman had behaved, they took out an object and stuck it on Aquaman's back. Click! The metal parts began to unfold and spread, transforming into a binding device that tightly restrained Aquaman. Inside the hall, everyone held their wine glasses, staring blankly at the scene before them. His eyes widened in disbelief. Is Aquaman really going to fall? Wow! Everyone wanted to escape. At the main gate, several figures blocked the way out. This is different from Fang Hao's plan. Instead of targeting a few individuals individually, the sisters cornered everyone in the hall. At that moment, a commotion arose outside the palace. Large numbers of sea creatures began to surge towards the royal palace. After all, it is the core of a power, and as soon as there is any movement, people will come to support it immediately. Who are you? You're not getting out of here, Sea King roared. A hero's abilities have a limit. Even if these people are more powerful than Aquaman, once they venture deep into this place, they won't be able to leave safely. Bang! Facing Aquaman's roar, he was met with another punch. He coughed up another mouthful of blood. A large number of sea creature soldiers rushed in, and the 4 sisters raised their hands to release fire magic, separating the two sides. Thump, thump, thump. While the two sides were separated by flames and remained in a standoff, an alarm bell rang outside the palace. Everyone was stunned for a moment, and then their expressions changed instantly. The sea creatures finally understood the purpose of these people. In the blink of an eye, the city was in complete chaos. In the sky, the bone dragon roared, and white undead emerged from the sea on the shore, launching an attack on city wall. The undead are attacking. The undead are attacking. People kept shouting, but no generals or ministers appeared on city wall. There was no one in command, and no one was coordinating the military equipment. 3 hours later, Rainbow Pearl Island fell. Hull, the giant ship. Fang Hao sat on the throne, with several heroes seated below him in turn. In the middle of Hull, several sea creatures were tightly bound. The leader was the Sea King of the Sea Clan, who was tightly bound by the prisoner's restraint belt. Deep Sea Frenzy, Saintsbury, Orange Tier 9 hero. A 9th tier hero, that's quite a high level. It's even higher than the Fishman Lord in the Sea Fin Sea region, just 1 tier away from Dark Gold. Are you Aquaman? Fang Hao asked. You are Fang Hao, right? You must be Fang Hao. The Sea King was tied up in a C shape and tried to look upwards. One of the previous speculations was transmigrators. This army is led by Fang Hao. No, you're not Fang Hao. Before Fang Hao could even speak, he immediately contradicted himself. How do you know I'm not Fang Hao? Fang Hao is dealing with the dragon's attack and couldn't possibly be here. Who are you and why are you attacking us? Neptune shouted. The Sea Clan has a shop at Merchant Alliance headquarters, so they naturally heard some of the news. Fang Hao was being targeted by the Dragon Clan and was so terrified that he had no intention of sending troops to fight others. Therefore, Fang Hao was excluded. I'll tell you who I am later. Now I'm giving you 2 choices. First, submit to my Sea Clan Islands and become my subordinate territory. Second, die. Okay, choose. Fang Hao said directly. The crowd below all frowned. This person was indeed there early in the morning to attack and occupy territory. Damn invaders, you will be punished. Even if we die, we will not submit to you. Pearl Island may fall, but the other islands will still fight back and drive you enemies away. The sea people will never submit. Fang Hao waved his hand in acknowledgement. Swish, swish, swish. A series of flashes of light appeared, and the heads of the most vocal individuals rolled off the table. The cluttered hall instantly fell silent. Everyone lowered their heads, staring at the blood spreading beneath them, their bodies trembling uncontrollably. Speak one by one, submit or die? Fang Hao looked at Neptune. You are the leader, you go first.